Chapter 106. Outside the sect, a 16-year-old girl in blue stood there. Her skin was as white as snow, her figure was slender, her face was oval-shaped, and her eyebrows were like willow leaves. In terms of appearance and temperament, she was not weaker than Lu Qianqian. Murong Xian. A direct descendant of the Murong family in Sky Sea City. She had a top-grade spirit root and was the direct disciple of the 11th elder of the Lily Holy Sect. Her other identity was Xiao Ziji's ex-fiancé. This kind of beautiful and talented girl appeared in front of the Iron Bones sect, which was unexpected. Murong Xian gently raised her head, her eyes looked at the man standing on the sentry post in the distance, and whispered, "It's really him." Some time ago, she went back to Sky Sea City to visit her relatives. She heard that her ex-fiancé participated in the martial arts competition in Azure Sun County and won the championship. This time, when she returned to the sect, she specially came to take a look. Xiao Ziji also looked at Murong Xian, and said with a sullen face, "Why is this woman here?" The memory of 5 years ago appeared. It was in the hall of the Xiao family, in front of all the clansmen, accompanied by the elders of the Lily Holy Sect. Murong Xian said faintly, "I'm here to break off the engagement." The cold and proud words were like a sharp arrow that deeply pierced Xiao Ziji's heart, making him feel pain every time he thought of it during the 5 years of wandering. Xiao Ziji had no feelings for his ex-fiancée. After all, they were engaged before they were born, and he only saw her once when he was young. But a woman came to break off the engagement, and in public, it was undoubtedly the same as ruthlessly trampling on his dignity. He could accept that a genius became a waste. He could also accept that he was expelled from the family. But he couldn't accept that when he was in trouble, even his fiancée came to kick him into the abyss. Seeing Murong Xian again and thinking of her proud face, Xiao Ziji really wanted to move the muzzle of the 88 sniper rifle and pull the trigger. Creak. At this time, the red door opened, and Su Xiaomao waved his hand and said, "Miss Murong, please come in." Murong Xian frowned, "Your sect master, won't you personally welcome me?" His voice was filled with arrogance. He had the right to be arrogant. After all, with his status as a direct descendant of the Murong clan, he would be welcomed by the higher-ups of the various sects in Azure Sun County. Even the Five Streams Green Mountain sect had to be courteous to the Lily Holy Sect. "Oh, shit. This woman is quite arrogant, huh?" Su Xiaomao unhappily said, "Miss Murong, you're only a direct descendant of the Murong family. Why would my family's head personally welcome you?" Clan head and sect head, their statuses were equal. When a direct descendant of the clan came to visit, there was nothing wrong with the sect leader not coming out to welcome him. "Are you entering or not?" Su Xiaomao said impatiently, "If you don't enter, I'll close the door." "Humph," Murong Xian snorted coldly and walked in. Her eyebrows were filled with anger. She thought to herself, a ninth-rate sect really thinks too highly of themselves. After walking in, she saw the spacious outer courtyard and the magnificent main hall. A trace of surprise flashed in her eyes as she said, "This iron bone is quite imposing." It's just that, looking at the disciples cultivating in the martial arts field, she disdainfully said, "Mediocre talent, low cultivation. No matter how luxurious the sect is, it's just a low-level existence." From this woman's arrogant behavior, it was enough to prove that Jun Changxiao's guess was right. She came with ill intentions. In the main hall, Murong Xian walked in and saw a young man in white sitting at the head of the table. She said lightly, "You're the head of the Iron Bones sect?" "That's right." Jun Changxiao put his elbows on the armrest and clasped his fingers together. He smiled and said, "I've long heard that my disciple has an extremely beautiful fiancée. Seeing you today, you really live up to your reputation." Li Qingyang's mouth twitched. "My dear sect head, you mentioned the word fiancé. Aren't you deliberately provoking her?" As expected. Murong Xian's pretty face suddenly became cold. She said, "Sect head Jun, I've already broken the engagement with Xiao Ziji. Please don't joke about it." "That's right, that's right." Jun Changxiao patted his forehead and pretended to remember. He said, "I forgot." My disciple and Miss Morong are no longer engaged. Sigh, I'm old and my memory is not good. It was an embarrassing and clumsy performance. Miss Morong. Jun Changshao went back to the topic. He said, why have you come to the Iron Bones sect this time? Nothing. Morong Xian said lightly, I heard that sect head Jun's disciple took the top 4 places in the sect's martial arts competition. I've come to see if there's anything special. Jun Changshao said, I see. Qingyang, call your junior brother Xiao over. Let him accompany Miss Morong and take a good look at the Iron Bones sect. Li Qingyang was a bit depressed. Sect head Xiao Ziji appeared at the door of the main hall. He said, I'm here. In the peach forest at the back of the mountain. Morong Xian stood in front of a peach tree. Her white fingers gently touched the peach blossoms on the branches. Xiao Ziji squatted on a rock. The Type 88 sniper rifle was wrapped in a black cloth and placed next to him. The gun never left his side. The woman's beauty was unparalleled. The man was handsome. It was as if they were a match made in heaven. Unfortunately, under the beautiful scene, there was a solemn atmosphere. After a long time, Morong Xian put her hands behind her back and looked at Xiao Ziji. She said, you haven't opened your meridians yet? Her tone was much calmer. It was not as arrogant as before. Xiao Ziji said lightly, Miss Morong, whether I open my meridians or not, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. Morong Xian was silent for a moment. She changed the topic and said, I told Grandpa that I wanted to break off the engagement. But he didn't agree. So don't blame me for going to the Xiao family to break off the engagement. And, she paused and said, I really didn't know that your spirit root and cultivation would regress. I also didn't know your situation in the Xiao family at that time. Xiao Ziji said lightly, it happened a long time ago. You don't have to explain it to me. Morong Xian picked a peach blossom and touched the petals. She said, in these 5 years, everyone thought that I, Morong Xian, went to the Xiao family to break off the engagement because my fiancé lost his aptitude and cultivation. As she said that, she threw a bottle of pills over. There are 10 unblocking meridians pills that can increase the chances of opening meridians. Just treat it as compensation for the impulsive me when I was young. Are you pitying me? Xiao Ziji said. Morong Xian didn't say anything. Xiao Ziji said self-deprecatingly, you, Morong Xian, are a proud daughter of heaven. I, Xiao Ziji, am now just a waste. Naturally, I can't afford it. Please take away the unblocking meridians pills. Xiao, the happy football shot over and directly hit his face. Then came Jun Changshao's scolding. Stand up for me. Swish. Xiao Ziji got up, clenched his fists, and said word by word, Morong Xian, the humiliation you gave me 5 years ago, sooner or later, Xiao Ziji, will go to the Lily Holy Sect to get it back. Add a deadline. Jun Changshao's voice came. 10 years. Too long. 9, okay, 3 years it is. Xiao Ziji, Morong Xian raised her black hair and said with a smile, 3 years later, you will come to the Lily Holy Sect to find me? Yes. Xiao Ziji's eyes were cold. 3 years later, I will bring the divorce letter to the Lily Holy Sect and tell everyone that it was I, Xiao Ziji, who divorced you, not you, Morong Xian. Morong Xian was startled. She saw an unprecedented determination in this man's eyes. Even when she first met him, he didn't have this kind of determination. 3 years, huh? Morong Xian said lightly, okay, I will wait for you at the Lily Holy Sect. After saying that, she turned and left. The broken peach blossoms fluttered, and the petals gradually separated in midair. It seemed to represent that the once perfect couple had completely parted ways today. Miss Morong. Jun Changshao's voice echoed in the back mountain. Forgive me for not seeing you off. Chapter 107. After Morong Xian left, Xiao Zui placed the meridian unlocking pill on a rock, as if she regretted her impulsiveness or took pity on him. He did not want it because he did not want to accept a gift from a woman who had hurt him. Jun Changshao walked over and put the pills into his spatial ring without any trace of politeness. He said, 3 years. Work hard on your cultivation. Sect leader. Xiao Ziji said, I have nothing to do with her anymore. Do I have to go to Lily Saint Sect in 3 years? Jun Changshao patted his shoulder and said, Zui Ji, you're fighting for your dignity now. You're not going to prove that you're better than her in the future. You're just going to tell her that she must take back what she lost with her own hands. What I lost? Xiao Ziji muttered. What did he lose? Dignity. A man's dignity. Xiao Ziji clenched his fists and said with a firm gaze, Sect leader, I understand. I will train hard, not to prove that I am better than others, but to take back what I lost with my own hands. Work hard, young man. Jun Changshao said. Returning to the main hall, he leaned back on the chair, Zui Ji, your agreement with Murong Xian is actually a kind of spur to you to become stronger. I hope you will not disappoint me. Helping his disciple set a 3-year agreement, although it was suspected that he was going to slap Murong Xian's face, but more importantly, it was to set a goal for him, a goal that he had to constantly strive for. For example, to become rich, he had to earn 100 million. Sigh. Jun Changshao stretched, training a disciple is indeed not an easy thing. As he spoke, he took out the meridian unlocking pill and muttered, it can increase the chances of opening meridians? This pill seems pretty good. The system said, host can decompose and refine it from Medicine Refinery Pavilion, or obtain the pill formula. There is such a function. Jun Changshao hurriedly opened the system's data panel and opened Medicine Refinery Pavilion. Under the 4 types of pills, a line of words appeared out of thin air. The content was Meridian Unlocking Pill, Decomposable. Decompose. Ding. Host decomposed pill, 10 contribution points consumed. Ding. Sect contribution points, 265,500. As expected, as long as the system reminded him out of kindness, he would have to spend some contribution points. Ding. Decomposition successful. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Meridian Opening Pill formula. The Meridian Unlocking Pill appeared on the panel of the Alchemy Pavilion. After clicking on it, 4 types of medicinal herbs appeared. Rubbing his nose, Jun Changshao smiled. Using 10 contribution points to decipher the formula of the Meridian Unlocking Pill. This is definitely a profit. With the addition of the Meridian Unlocking Pill to the Medicine Refinery Pavilion, it was a step closer to perfection. Of course, he needed materials to refine it. Therefore, Jun Changshao decided to make a trip to Huyang City in 2 days. Right now, the most important thing is how to open sinful self's meridians. There was ultimately a limit to the strength of the body. Xiao Ziji had to open his meridians and condense his spirit energy in order to go further. Otherwise, how could he carry a gun and fight with others all day long? It wasn't impossible. However, with the help of spiritual energy, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, we have to figure out why this kid can't cultivate. That's right. We can buy an aptitude modification liquid and let him consume it. Forcefully raise his spiritual root from a low grade to a mortal grade spiritual root. Maybe he can open his main meridians. As soon as he thought of it, Jun Changshao directly selected the aptitude modifying liquid suitable for low grade spiritual roots. Ding! The host has spent 50 contribution points and obtained the aptitude modification liquid X1. It has been transferred to the spatial ring. Ding! Sect contribution points, 215500. In order to make the disciple stronger, in order to regain his lost dignity after 3 years, Sect leader Jun was really giving it his all. In the training room, Xiao Ziji held the aptitude modification liquid. After knowing the effects, he was stunned on the spot. After a long time, he said in disbelief, Sect leader, after drinking it, can it really raise the aptitude of the spiritual root? Jun Changshao said, "Stop talking nonsense and drink it quickly." Pa, Xiao Ziji opened the bottle and raised his head without hesitation. He drank the malt-flavored medicine and the meridians in his body seemed to be burning. Huff huff huff. He breathed heavily, and his exposed skin gradually turned red, like a piece of charcoal that had been burned red. What's going on? Jun Changshao was stunned. He had drunk a few bottles and this had never happened. Could it be that this kid had an allergic reaction after drinking it? The system said, "This is the aptitude modification liquid condensing spiritual energy, helping him to raise the spiritual root and gather spiritual energy for breaking through the meridians." Sizzle sizzle. At this moment, Xiao Ziji's red skin began to emit a strange mist. It smelled a little pungent. The system said, "This is poisonous gas." Poisonous gas. Jun Changshao took 2 steps back vigilantly. The system said, "If I'm not wrong, this disciple of yours should be poisoned." Poisoned? Jun Changshao said solemnly, "Could it be that this is the reason why he can't cultivate?" The poisonous gas in Xiao Ziji's body spread and filled the entire training room. Fortunately, it was only pungent and did not cause any harm. Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, "There's poison in his body and he can't cultivate. The situation seems to be very clear." Bang! At this moment, a sound came from Xiao Ziji's body. A slightly weak halo gathered around his wrists. This was the sign of a meridian opening. Thump! Thump! Xiao Ziji's heart beat violently, causing his chest to rise and fall. The spreading poisonous gas also seemed to gradually evaporate under the heat of his body. As for the halo gathered around his wrists, it changed from a blurry state to a clear state and finally solidified. One meridian opened. Jun Changshao said happily. Just as he finished speaking, a second halo appeared on Xiao Ziji's wrists. Obviously, the spiritual energy in his body had already opened a second main meridian. An hour later, the poisonous gas in the training room completely dissipated. Everything returned to normal. Xiao Ziji was as tall and straight as a mountain. For resplendent lights gathered around his wrists. After taking the aptitude modification liquid, his spirit root had risen from low grade to common grade. The increase in aptitude had stimulated his meridians, allowing him to break through to the 4th stage of meridian opening in one go. Sect. Sect Master. Looking at the spiritual halo that hadn't appeared for 5 years, Xiao Ziji's hands trembled violently. His voice was nearly hoarse as he said, Disciple opened his meridians, not bad. Jun Changshao said, "You opened your meridians." Xiao Ziji closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He tried his best to control his emotions, but tears still gathered in his eyes uncontrollably. Swish. Suddenly, his knees bent. But before he could kneel, Jun Changshao held him up and said, "Use your future strength to spread the might of my iron bone. This is the best way to thank me. Stand up." Swish. Xiao Ziji straightened his bent knees and wiped away the tears on his cheeks. He said loudly, "Disciple Xiao Ziji will definitely not disappoint Sect Master. In the future, I will strengthen the name of my iron bone and spread the might of my iron bone." Jun Changshao patted his shoulder and said, "I have high hopes for you." Ding! The first 100 disciples have successfully opened their meridians. Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden mission, Reaching Heights. The reward is 50 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 265500. Jun Changshao walked out of the training room. He was speechless as he thought to himself, the first 100 disciples have successfully opened their meridians. If Xiao Ziji didn't open his meridians, would he never be able to complete it? The system said, yes. This hidden mission is really fucked up. Chapter 108. Even though Xiao Ziji's meridians were opened, what Jun Changshao didn't understand was it because of the poison that caused his realm to regress, causing him to be unable to gather spirit energy? The system said, from the poisonous gas just now, it should be caused by poison. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin. It's understandable that the poison would cause his realm to regress, but how could a supreme-grade spirit root regress? If the poison in his body can suppress his spirit root, now that it has been removed, he should have recovered, not just opened 4 meridians. He rubbed his temples. Yuan Fong, what do you think about this? The system, Jun Changshao said, I'm asking you, say something. The system then realized that Yuan Fong was referring to itself, so it said, Falling Star Continent is a mysterious world, maybe there are poisons that can suppress cultivation and spirit root. The poison is removed, but why didn't his spirit root and cultivation recover? Jun Changshao asked. The system was silent for a while, then said, maybe there's more than one type of poison in his body. What the host removed was only the poison that suppressed his cultivation, but there's also the poison that suppressed his spirit root. That's possible. Jun Changshao was silent. If that's the case, who would be so vicious as to use 2 types of poison to destroy Xiao Ziji, who was supposed to be a genius? The Xiao family's elder. Jun Changshao thought of the Xiao family's head elder who was filled with killing intent toward Xiao Ziji during the sect competition. And that group of assassins outside Liang City, who sent them? He held his head, saying, damn, I feel like my IQ isn't enough. Yuan Fong, are there any products that can develop brain power? The system said, no. After Xiao Ziji successfully opened his meridians, he temporarily gave up on spear practice and spent the whole night running Yi Jin Jing, gathering spirit energy around him. Even though he only had a mortal-grade spirit root, and the absorption was far from the supreme-grade spirit root, he was satisfied. After all, it was much better than not being able to gather spirit energy. Spirit energy entered his body, spreading and gathering along his meridians. Xiao Ziji once again found that refreshing feeling of cultivation. Of course. He also knew that everything was given to him by the sect leader. In this life, he was willing to serve the Iron Bone clan. Lily Holy Sect. In another disciple's room, Yixingchen finished his cultivation and said disdainfully, back when I dominated the Falling Star Continent, we were only a 5th-rate sect. Sigh. Our Lord Knight the Arch is still immersed in the past and unable to come out. Who? He exhaled and murmured, the Taishen Sutra is truly profound. I've studied it for so long, but I've only comprehended the first layer. Fortunately, I have the assistance of the body metamorphosis scripture. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for me to break through to the 7th level of the channel opening realm in such a short period of time. He really had to thank him properly. Without Yi Jin Jing's 50% meridian opening rate, with Night Emperor's current aptitude, it would have taken him a long time to achieve it. I can't just focus on cultivation. I have to combine it with actual combat. Tomorrow, I'll go to the forest with ferocious beasts to gain some experience. The next day, Night Emperor told his idea to Jun Changshao. After some consideration, the latter said, go with your senior martial brother Xiao. We can take care of each other. Him? He's just trash. Although Yixingchen was very conflicted, he still agreed on the surface. After all, he was now an Iron Bone disciple. Just like that, a powerhouse was reborn, and a genius turned into a waste. They set out to leave the sect and begin the essential wilderness training that should only be done by the protagonist. Xiao Ziji brought along his Type 88 sniper rifle. Not only did he have to practice in actual combat, but he also had to take advantage of the opportunity to hunt for cores to make up for the sect leader's previous losses. Our sect leader Jun handed over the sect's affairs to Li Qingyang and set out for Huyang City. Sect leader Lu Wancher stood at the entrance of the dining hall and shouted, bring back some seasoning. Understood. When Jun Changshao arrived at Huyang City again, he found that it was much more lively than last time. Occasionally, he would meet martial artists with weapons. Can't the AI clan hurry up? They have to wait a month before auctioning it. The AI clan can refine this kind of healing pill that can instantly heal injuries. They even put it up for auction. What's the big deal about waiting a period of time? I heard that several large clans and sects have sent people over. Poor people like us can only stand on the sidelines and watch the competition between them. The martial artists on the road discussed incessantly. Obviously, they were all foreigners who had gathered in the city to wait for the AI clan to auction the healing pills for the second time. Many clans and sects had gathered their strength. Once the pills were put up for auction, they would get it no matter what price they had to pay. It had to be said that the AI clan was very good at doing business. After the first auction and continuous publicity, they had successfully whetted the appetite of the martial artists in the various counties. The auction of the healing pills had nothing to do with Jun Changshao. He was also too lazy to show his face in public. Therefore, he went to the market first and bought a lot of seasoning before entering the AI clan's medicine shop. Shopkeeper Ma, who was paying the bill at the counter, saw Jun Changshao walk in. He didn't wait for the servants to greet him. He personally walked out and said with a smile, "Sect leader Jun, we are honored by your presence. Please forgive us for not going out to meet you." Before the first auction, the AI clan master had already ordered that the Iron Bones sect leader was a VIP of the AI clan. If he came to the shop, they must not neglect him. Jun Changshao said, "Where is the AI clan master? I want to talk to him about a big business deal." "Another big business deal?" Shopkeeper Ma hurriedly made a gesture of invitation and said, "Sect leader Jun, please take a seat. I will inform the clan master now." As he spoke, he gave the servant a look to serve tea and hurriedly left the shop for the AI clan. Jun Changshao didn't sit down. He went to the medicine rack and looked at the medicinal herbs in the bamboo basket. When he saw something that caught his interest, he raised his hand to touch it. "Don't touch it." Suddenly, a voice came from behind him. Jun Changshao turned around and saw a white-haired old man in the corner of the shop holding a small pair of scissors and trimming a potted plant. "Crazy old man." The servant in the shop scolded, "This is sect leader Iron Bones sect leader Jun, don't be rude." As he spoke, he hurriedly smiled apologetically and said, "Sect leader Jun, he is a temporary worker who was hired to trim the medicinal herbs a few days ago. He doesn't know the rules. Please don't lower yourself to his level." Jun Changshao curiously asked, "Why can't I touch it?" The old man didn't even raise his head. As he trimmed the medicinal herbs, he said, "That medicinal herb is called rotten leaf grass. Its leaves gather spiritual energy. If a person touches it, the spiritual energy will decay and the medicinal effect will be greatly reduced." TSK, the servant rolled his eyes and said, "I move the rotten leaf grass here and there every day. I come across it many times. Can't I still use it to refine pills?" "You crazy old man are talking nonsense again." Sigh. The old man sighed and said, "It's because of careless people like you. The medicinal herbs that can be used to 100% of their medicinal effect can only be used to 50% or 60% after being refined into pills. It's really sad." Okay. You are so professional. I don't want to talk to you." The servant seemed to have argued with the old man more than once. He didn't continue to argue with him. Instead, he smiled and said, "Sect leader Jun, please look around." Jun Changshao became interested and said, "Senior, you seem to know a lot about medicinal herbs." The old man stood up and said, "Sect leader Jun is the leader of a sect. I can't accept the title of senior. Elders should be respected. I deserve it. Jun Chang smiled. The old man looked surprised and shook his head. The Falling Star continent has always respected martial arts and seniors. This is the first time I've heard of it. Jun Changshao wanted to continue the conversation, but AI Shang had already rushed over. As soon as he entered the shop, he cupped his hands and said with a smile, "Sect leader Jun, what brings you here?" Chapter 109. In the parlor. Jun Changshao placed the prescription of the meridian opening pill on the table. He clasped his fingers together and smiled, "Master AI, how many of these ingredients does your AI clan have?" AI Shang glanced at it and pondered for a moment. "Sect Master Jun, my AI clan doesn't have many of these 4 ingredients. We only have about 300 of each. I want all of them. Jun Changshao said straightforwardly. The meridian opening pill increased the meridian opening rate, and the body metamorphosis scripture also increased the meridian opening rate. Wouldn't the combination be heaven-defying? Therefore, he had to refine them as soon as possible. AI Shang smiled. Sect Master Jun, please wait a moment. He gave shopkeeper Ma a look, and the latter hurried to the inner courtyard. He then took out a few spatial rings and placed them on the table. The ingredients for the meridian opening pill weren't too precious, so the pharmacy had them in stock. After Jun Changshao inspected the goods, he said, Master AI, name your price. AI Shang said, these ingredients cost a total of 110,000 taels. Sect Master Jun, give me 100,000 taels. If it were any other customer, they definitely wouldn't bargain. But whether or not the AI clan could make a fortune with the healing pill in the future depended on this god of wealth. Jun Changshao said, deal. The two followed the rules and signed. The transaction was completed. Oh right. Jun Changshao pointed at the old man trimming the herbs outside and asked curiously, who is this senior? AI Shang said, a herbalist. Herbalist? Jun Changshao had never heard of it. The original owner lived in Clear Sun Village and later joined the Iron Bones sect. He rarely went out, so he didn't know much about the continent. AI Shang explained, a herbalist is a profession that cultivates and grows medicinal herbs. I see. Jun Changshao understood, no wonder he knows so much about medicinal herbs. AI Shang shook his head, Sect Master Jun, this person is only a grade 3 herbalist. There are many herbalists who are stronger and more knowledgeable than him. Herbalists also had ranks, similar to martial arts, such as disciple, master, grandmaster, and king. It was the same for alchemists and spirit stones. Grade 3 herbalist. It was very common on the Starfall continent. Compared to other professions, herbalists were relatively common. Their status was not considered noble, and they were even jokingly called herbalists. Of course, without them, it would be hard to meet the huge demand of the Starfall continent just by digging for medicinal herbs in the mountains. Therefore, herbalists were indispensable. Many forces would specially hire herbalists to open up herb gardens, cultivate and plant herbs, and become self-sufficient. A grade 3 alchemist is also an alchemist. Don't look down on me, Master AI. The white-haired old man retorted when he heard AI Shang's words. Aya, you crazy old man, how dare you speak to our family head like that? Are you tired of living? The servant rolled up his sleeves and walked over in an imposing manner. AI Shangdi waved his hand and said, leave. The servant glared at the old man before leaving resentfully. Jun Changshao walked out and said with a smile, Senior, my Iron Bone group is still lacking a herbalist. Are you interested in joining? The old man waved his hand and said, there are plenty of herbalists who are better than this old man. Sect Master Jun, please find someone else. TSK the servant snorted and muttered, it's your fortune to be chosen by Sect Master Jun. You're actually rejecting him. What a crazy old man. AI Shang smiled and said, Sect Master Jun, my AI family has many herbalists. Most of them are grade 7 or grade 8. If your sect lacks one, I can, Jun Changshao interrupted, just let me have this senior. AI Shang's mouth twitched and said, Sect Master Jun, Elder Wei is only a temporary worker of my AI family. Whether he goes or not, it's up to him. Is that so? Jun Changshao said, Senior, I'm willing to hire you at a high price. Are you willing to go to Iron Bone and take up the position of herbalist? AI Shang was a little confused. Grade 3 alchemists could be found everywhere. There were at least 10 of them in the AI family. Why would Iron Bone's Sect Master take a fancy to this crazy old man? Elder Wei said, Sect Master Jun, you really want to hire me as an Iron Bone herbalist? That's right. Jun Changshao said. Elder Wei put the scissors on the shelf and said, I've been a herbalist for 60 years now. Only Sect Master Jun is willing to invite me. Jun Changshao said, horses of 1,000 li are common, but a talent scout is hard to find. Talent scout? Elder Wei smiled and said, if Sect Master Jun is sincere, I'm willing to go to Ironbone. But how much is the salary? 10,000 taels a month. Jun Changshao said. Ai Shang was stunned. His grade 8 and grade 9 alchemists only earned 10,000 taels a month. A grade 3 alchemist earning 1,000 taels a month was already very high. Elder Wei said, Sect Master Jun is very sincere. Once I return to my family, I'll go to Ironbone with you. Jun Changshao said, Ai family head, it shouldn't be a problem for me to take this person with me, right? No problem, no problem. South of the city, in a deep alley. Jun Changshao followed Elder Wei to his residence. The house was very dilapidated and the environment was dark. As soon as he walked in, a group of 8 or 9-year-old children surrounded him and called him Grandpa. They all had innocent smiles on their faces. Jun Changshao said, Elder Wei has many children and grandchildren. He's a lucky man. Elder Wei handed out the candies he bought one by one and said with a loving expression, these are all orphans I've adopted. Jun Changshao was stunned. In this cruel world, it was inconceivable that someone would adopt orphans. Sect Master Jun thought too much of the world of martial arts. In reality, there would always be good people doing seemingly laughable good deeds in any place. Sect Master Jun Elder Wei said, can you give them a salary in advance? Sure. Jun Changshao took out 1,000 taels without hesitation. After Elder Wei took it, he only gave 300 taels to the older boy. After giving him some instructions, he packed his luggage and left. On the way, Jun Changshao said, Elder Wei, you can actually bring them to the Ironbone. Elder Wei shook his head and said, this world is very cruel. They have to learn to face it on their own. I can only help them for a while, not forever. So? Jun Changshao said, you gave them a few hundred taels because you don't want them to rely on you too much? That's right. Elder Wei said. This old man must have had extraordinary experiences. Ding! Side quest completed. Host receives 50 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 313500. After Jun Changshao and Ai Shangyao completed the transaction, the side quest was triggered. The content was hire Elder Wei as an iron bone herb refiner. No wonder he was willing to hire him with a monthly salary of 10,000 taels. In fact, even without the side quest, Jun Changshao would still hire Elder Wei. Because his intuition told him that this was not a simple person. Fine. Your iron bone herb refiner is a person with a story. We'll just sit and listen to your stories. Sect Master Jun Elder Wei said, since you're hiring this old man as an iron bone herb refiner, does the sect have any medicinal seeds? Go buy them. Jun Changshao said. The two of them went to the medicinal market and bought many kinds of medicinal herbs before returning to the iron bone herb refiner. As soon as they returned to the sect, Li Qingyang handed over something and said, Sect Master, 2 hours ago, someone sent a letter. Oh? Jun Changshao took the letter and opened it. On it was written 3 days later, Iron Bone Sect Master is invited to the ruins of the Spirit Springs Sect for a battle. Signed by, Inner Disciple of the Sacred Springs Sect, Mo Shangfei. Li Qingyang said solemnly, Sect Master, this is a letter of challenge. Jun Changshao held the letter in his hand and said with a faint smile, the Sacred Springs Sect can't sit still anymore. They only sent an inner disciple. Aren't they looking down on me, Jun Changshao? Chapter 110. After destroying the Spirit Springs Sect, Jun Changshao had thought that the Sacred Springs Sect would come to find trouble with him, but he did not expect it to be in the form of a letter of challenge. That's right. If Wei Yishi did not play tricks at the beginning and use this method to resolve the grievances between the two sects, how could he destroy the sect? Sect Master. Li Qingyang said solemnly, to be able to become an inner disciple of the Sacred Springs Sect, your talent and strength must be outstanding. Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, since you asked me to send a letter of challenge, as the sect master, if I fight, wouldn't I be a laughingstock? Qingyang. He paused and said, you will accept the challenge. Yes. Li Qingyang said. Jun Changshao said, this battle is related to the glory of the sect. No matter what, you must win for me. Li Qingyang shouted, disciple will do his best. In fact, he was quite pressured. After all, the opponent was an inner disciple of the fifth-rate Sacred Springs sect, and may not be weaker than him in terms of talent and strength. Jun Changshao clasped his fingers together and said, what I want is to win. Yes. Li Qingyang said loudly, 3 days later, disciple will win. Jun Changshao waved his hand and threw over 10 chi-gathering pills and 3 spirit stones, saying, don't worry about anything these 2 days, cultivate well for the battle 3 days later. The 10 spirit stones were obtained from the sect's martial arts competition, and he was unwilling to use them. Now that the Sacred Springs sect came to fight, he did not hesitate to give Li Qingyang 3 spirit stones, hoping that he can become stronger in the shortest time possible so that he can have a 100% chance of winning. Li Qingyang took the spirit stones and pills, and said with a firm gaze, disciple will not let the sect master down. With that, he left the hall to cultivate. Lu Qianqian leaned on the door and said lightly, why don't you let me fight? Jun Changshao said, Qingyang is steady and can see the big picture. I hope that he can become stronger and more confident to assist me in managing the Iron Bones sect. Lu Qianqian said lightly, so, this is the reason that the sect master found for you to be a hands-off shopkeeper in the future? Jun Changshao clutched his chest and collapsed on the back of the chair, pretending to be weak, saying, I can't, my heart hurts. Lu Qianqian rolled her eyes at him and said, the Holy Springs sect came to fight this time, it shows that they care about the Spirit Springs sect. Our Iron Bones sect and such a sect can be considered to have formed a grudge. Jun Changshao stopped his awkward act and spread out his hands. As long as they don't play tricks, I don't mind playing with them. If these words were heard by outsiders, they would definitely be speechless. Where is he responsible for taking care of it? Sect Master, please send a few disciples to assist this old man in reclaiming the wasteland. Elder Wei, who had just settled down, did not intend to rest. Instead, he began to perform his duties. Jun Changshao called Su Xiaoma, Tian Qi, Li Fei and others to assist in reclaiming the wasteland. In just half a day, more than 10 acres of wasteland had been plowed by them. The soil was soft and suitable for planting. Elder Wei carefully took out the medicinal seeds. Then, he hunched his body and planted them step by step. Elder Wei, Su Xiaoma said, we'll help you. Elder Wei waved his hand and said, planting medicinal seeds requires a sincere heart to nurture medicinal herbs that gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. You little kids are too impatient. Let this old man do it alone. The Iron Bone disciples were speechless. Since they were not allowed to help, they left the back mountain and went to cultivate. It was not until dusk came that Elder Wei planted medicinal seeds in more than 10 acres of land. The distance between each medicinal herb and the depth of the hole was very particular. If a peer saw this, they would praise him sincerely professional. Since he had hired Elder Wei, Jun Changshao did not ask any more. Instead, he sat cross-legged in his room and pulled out the alchemy pavilion. After a series of clinking sounds, he refined 300 meridian unlocking pills. This thing together with Yi Jin Jing will definitely open meridians easily. I'll let Dudu try it tomorrow. As he muttered, he waved his hand and took out a spirit stone. Li Qingyang needed to cultivate. He also needed to cultivate because the battle with the Sacred Springs sect meant that he would have to face a fifth-rate sect. His cultivation must improve as soon as possible. How do I use it? Holding the spirit stone, Sect Master Jun was dumbfounded. The system said, it's the same as communicating with a crystal core. Communicate with the spirit stone and draw out the spiritual energy inside. Slowly refine it and integrate it into the cyclone. Oh. Jun Changshao did as he was told. When his consciousness entered the spirit stone, He felt the majestic spiritual energy inside and could not help but exclaim, "It's so pure." "Nonsense," the system said. "If it's not pure, can it be 10,000 taels for one?" Jun Changshao ignored it and began to guide the spiritual energy in the spirit stone. It gradually formed a soft line and flew out, entering his body through his nostrils. Yi Jing activated and began to refine it slowly. After a night, the spirit stone in his hand turned from a crystal to a dull gray. The cyclone in Jun Changshao's dantian was obviously stronger than before. He secretly exclaimed, "If I absorb 4 or 5 more spirit stones, breaking through from the 8th grade to the 9th grade will definitely be a piece of cake." Jun Changshao had estimated that even if he took qi gathering pills and cultivated continuously, it would take at least half a month. Now that he had spirit stones, he could break through in 2 or 3 days. It was simply too terrifying. The system said, "Spirit stones are the most important cultivation resource in the falling star continent. Many cultivators have toiled their entire lives for them and even lost their lives. How do I obtain spirit stones?" Jun Changshao asked. The system said, "Either find a mine or find a spirit master to refine it from a high-grade crystal core." Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, "I already have a medicinal master. It seems that I have to find a time to go down the mountain and hire a spirit master." The system poured cold water on him. Spirit master is an extremely rare profession. Even the lowest level of spirit apostle is less than 10 in the entire Azure Sun County. If the host really wants to hire one, then be prepared to take out 1,000,000 taels of courage. 1,000,000? That's daylight robbery. The next day, Jun Changshao called Lu Wancher over and said, "Dudu, what level are you at now? When are you going to break through your meridians?" Lu Wancher said, "Sect Master, I'm at the 4th stage of the channel opening stage and have already condensed spiritual energy. I can break through my meridians at any time." Her culinary skills were superb, but her spiritual root was only at the common grade. She also had to be responsible for the meals of her seniors, so she had only reached the 4th meridian when she entered the sect with Yi Xingchen. "Here," Jun Changshao said, "this is a channel opening pill. It can help you successfully open your meridians." Lu Wancher took the pill and stared with her big round eyes. She said in disbelief, "Channel opening pill? That's a very expensive pill. Sect Master, are you really going to give it to me?" Seeing the little girl's cute appearance, Jun Changshao really wanted to pinch her cheeks. "Hurry up and break through." N. Lu Wancher didn't leave. Instead, she sat cross-legged on the floor of the main hall and took the channel opening pill. She operated the body metamorphose scripture. The result, she opened her meridians. To be exact, when the little girl gathered her spiritual energy to break through the blocked meridians, she easily opened them. Hoo! Her spiritual energy passed through the 5th main meridian. Lu Wancher's wrist condensed a 5th ring of light. She couldn't contain her joy and said, "Sect Master, I've opened my 5th meridian." She seemed to be too excited. She jumped up and threw herself at Jun Changshao. Shwa! Sect Master Jun took a sidestep and perfectly dodged. Then, he heard a peng sound. The petite Lu Wancher fell to the ground with her arms and legs spread out. This was definitely an instinctive dodging reaction formed after practicing martial arts for a long time. Lu Wancher stood up and rubbed her forehead. Her eyes were full of tears. She said pitifully, "Sect Master, why didn't you catch me? P.S. Thank you for the gifts. Students who have tickets, don't hide them. Throw them all at me. I definitely won't avoid them like the single dog Jun Changshao." Chapter 111. With the combination of the meridian unlocking pill and body metamorphose scripture, Lu Wancher easily opened her 5th meridian. After that, Jun Changshao gathered all the disciples who had not reached stage 12. There were not many of them, only 13. 4 of them were at stage 10, and 9 were at stage 11. It was not that they did not work hard enough, but that they were too unlucky. Sometimes, even with the body metamorphose scripture's success rate, they would fail continuously, so the gap between them gradually widened. Seeing that most of their fellow disciples had reached stage 12, the 13 disciples blamed themselves and felt depressed. They felt ashamed of the support the sect leader had given them. Jun Changshao could see this, so he gave each of them 3 meridian unlocking pills and encouraged them, failure for a while does not mean failure forever. Work hard and you can do it. The system said. The host is becoming more and more like the sect leader. What was this saying? Was I not like the sect leader before? Before, I was very weak and did not have the demeanor of a sect leader. Now that my cultivation has increased, my body has become stronger, and my charisma has been revealed. I really did have the look of a sect leader. But what were the flaws? They lacked the demeanor of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. This kind of temperament was not easy to cultivate. First, the sect leader had to be a true expert. Second, the sect had to be strong. Even if it could not dominate the continent, it had to be powerful. Someone who had been in a high position for a long time was nothing. Since I, Jun Changshao, came to the falling star continent, I will be the strongest sect leader who controls the world and lies drunk on beauty's knees. The system complained, single dog, go wash up and sleep. After the 13 disciples took the meridian unlocking pills, 9 of them broke through to stage 12, and the other 4 entered stage 11. What was this? A 100% success rate. The next day, after learning that all the disciples had opened their meridians, Jun Changshao said happily, when we recruit new disciples, as long as they gather enough spirit energy, opening their meridians will be a small matter. Sinful Self and Xing Chen went out to train. Otherwise, if I gave them a few pills each, they would definitely improve greatly. The combination of body metamorphose scripture and meridian unlocking pills could allow a meridian opening martial artist to have a 100% success rate. This was very terrifying. If this spread out, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. Unfortunately, no one knew. In the eyes of many high-level cultivators, Iron Bone was like a lowly ant, slowly climbing up a mountain. The day before the battle, Li Qingyang sat cross-legged in the center of the spiritual energy array. He focused his mind and circulated the tendon-changing scripture. His body was shrouded in layers of spiritual energy, like a cocoon wrapping him up. Su Xiaoma and the others knew that their second senior brother was going to fight with the inner disciples of the Sacred Spring Sect, so they didn't enter the array formation for 2 days, fearing that they would accidentally disturb the battle. Plop! After a short while, the last spirit stone fell to the ground with a dull color because all of its energy had been sucked dry. Who? Li Qingyang took a deep breath and absorbed all the spiritual qi in his body. The moment he opened his eyes, 2 rays of light flashed. 4th grade martial disciple, there shouldn't be any problems. During the martial arts competition, he had already become a rank 1 martial disciple. After returning for a while, he finally became a rank 2 martial disciple. Now, with the help of spirit stones and qi gathering pills, he had advanced 2 levels in 2 days. As the number 1 genius of Qingyang City, Li Qingyang's aptitude was unquestionable. However, the reason why his cultivation was slow before was that he had to help the sect leader deal with a lot of internal affairs, which indirectly delayed a lot of cultivation time. He didn't have any complaints because this was the sect leader's trust in him. He could only do his best to do everything well. Night came. Li Qingyang walked out of the array formation and entered the training room. He began the final shaping of his body for the battle with the disciples of the Sacred Spring Sect. On the roof of the main hall, Jun Changshao sat on the ridge with his elbows on his legs and his palms folded together. He held his chin with the back of his hand and said, "Qingyang, you've worked hard during this time." Lu Qianqian was cold and indifferent. Xiao Ziji was decadent and depressed. Su Xiaoma was naughty and carefree. All the disciples were talents. However, a sect couldn't rely on the sect leader alone. The steady Li Qingyang was undoubtedly what Jun Changshao needed and liked the most. The reason why he let him fight this time was because he hoped to gather enough prestige to better assist him in leading the sect's junior brothers. The next day, the sky had just brightened. Lu Wancher cooked early and made a sumptuous breakfast. Ma Yongning and the two assassins brought it to the dining table. After a while, the disciples came to eat. Li Qingyang also came. Although he cultivated for a night in the shaping room, he looked full of energy. Su Xiaomao walked over with a bowl in his hand and said, "Junior brother wishes second senior brother to defeat the disciples of the Sacred Springs sect and spread the might of my iron bone." As he spoke, he drank the soup in one gulp. Ha! He quickly stuck out his tongue and exhaled, "Hot! Hot!" The other disciples also came to give their blessings. The atmosphere in the cafeteria suddenly became warm. Lu Wancher, who was wearing an apron, poked her head out from the side of the kitchen. She shook the spoon in her hand and said with a smile, "I especially woke up early today to make a sumptuous meal for second senior brother." Plop! Everyone fell down together. Li Qingyang staggered and supported himself on the table. Black lines appeared on his forehead. A child's words carry no harm, a child's words carry no harm. Not long after, Jun Changshao walked in. After eating a sumptuous meal with the disciples, he brought Li Qingyang, Lu Qianshan, and a few other main disciples on the road without any worries. Yaoyang City, Spirit Spring Mountain. The first time he came, Jun Changshao destroyed the Spirit Spring sect. The second time, he accepted the challenge. He's here, he's here. Iron Bone really accepted the challenge. I thought that guy wouldn't dare to come against the Sacred Spring sect. Jun Changshao walked up the mountain with a few disciples and saw many martial artists in different attire gathered outside the ruins of the Spirit Spring sect. He didn't go down the mountain these few days, so he didn't know that the news of the Sacred Spring sect challenging his sect had already spread in Azure Sun County. The various sects and martial artists who received the news naturally wouldn't miss it and came to Yaoyang City as early as yesterday. Many sects of the 100 Sect Alliance also came. For example, the Patriarch of the Tiger's Hull School and the Iron Fist gang leader who was punched out by Xiao Ziji. When they saw Jun Changshao and the Iron Bone disciples coming up, the corners of their mouths curled up and a faint sneer appeared. "Brat! Fortunately, you left the alliance. The Sacred Springs sect is magnanimous and didn't make a fuss about it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have let you go." Hee hee. Jun Changshao smiled and said, "It's just a challenge, but it's even livelier than the grand tournament." This seat is a bit surprised. Sect Master Jun, the Patriarch of the Tiger's Howl School lightly said, "The people of the Sacred Springs sect are waiting for you at the Spirit Springs sect's martial field. After you go in, they might give you a shock." After the meeting in Azure Sun City, the 100 Sect Alliance would definitely not welcome Jun Changshao. The reason they came this time was naturally to see how he would be bullied by a fifth-rate sect. Thinking about how arrogant that guy was at the Star Moon Pavilion and the panicked expression he would show when facing the Sacred Springs sect, the elders of the various sects immediately smiled. The Spirit Springs sect is just a pile of ruins, how could it scare the seat? Jun Changshao led his disciples and walked forward. As soon as they entered, they saw 3 chairs placed in front of the collapsed main hall. There were 3 people sitting on the chairs. In the middle was a middle-aged man with a resolute face. His hands were clasped together, and his head was slightly lowered. The person on the left was also a middle-aged man. He supported his face with one hand, and his expression was slightly gloomy. On the right was a man with wrinkles on his head. One leg was crossed over the other, and he was picking his ear with his pinky finger, looking very sloppy. Although the 3 had different appearances, they had one thing in common. They were all emitting a vigorous aura, and their cultivation was definitely not weaker than the elders of the Blue Mountain sect. Jun Changshao touched his nose and thought, if these 3 wore the uniform of the Navy and put on the long cloak of justice, they would be the 3 admirals of the Navy. Chapter 112. The auras of the 3 martial artists sitting in the ruins of the main hall were thick, giving off a very strong feeling. Even the air became oppressive. They were the 3rd elder, 4th elder, and 5th elder of the Holy Springs sect. Their cultivation was at the Wuzong level. In this battle, they had sent out 3 martial ancestor elders. It seemed that they wanted to tell the world that the Spirit Spring Sect, which was related to the Sacred Spring Sect, could not be destroyed so easily. On the right side of the 3 stood a group of martial artists in blue robes. They were the disciples of the Holy Spring Sect. On the left side, there were many martial artists, including the Lord of Green Sun City, Xie Guanquan, the Alliance Master of the 100 Sect Alliance, Qin Haran, and the 6th-rate Sect Master of Green Sun County. What a great lineup! No wonder the Patriarch of the Tiger's Hull Sect had to stand outside. Xie Guanquan secretly said, "Sect Master Jun, the Holy Spring Sect sent 3 elders this time. It looks like a battle, but in reality, they are pressuring you. I really can't help you." A 5th-rate sect was a colossus. Although he was the Lord of Green Sun City, he was powerless. Qin Haoran and the sect master of the 6th-rate sect looked at Jun Changshao with a mocking gaze. "Little brat, facing this lineup, can you still be as arrogant as the Star Moon Pavilion?" Jun Changshao stopped outside the martial arts field with his disciples. The stone slabs in front of him were burnt black. Wasn't it because he set fire to the Spirit Spring Sect? The 3rd elder, who was sitting in the middle seat, slowly raised his head and said, "You are the leader of the Iron Bone Sect?" His eyes were sharp, and his voice was loud like a bell. Waves of spirit aura filled the air. Jun Changshao straightened his chest, put his hands behind his back, and calmly said, "Yes." The disciples standing behind him, except for Lu Chanxian, also held their heads high. There was not the slightest trace of fear on their faces. What was the Iron Bone Sect's first motto? To be a man of iron bone, to do things of iron bone. Although there were 3 Wuzong-level experts in front of them, and the aura that filled the air made them feel extremely oppressed, their iron bones would not be bent because of this. Xie Guanquan was secretly impressed. The Iron Bones clan, they have iron bones. Even Jun Changshao himself, facing the 3 Wuzong masters, finally understood why the first sect leader named the sect the Iron Bone Sect. At that moment, the great soul of sect leader Wang, who had failed to break out of prison after visiting a brothel, seemed to have appeared in the sky. He opened his wide arms and poured out the Iron Bones buff, allowing them to face a strong enemy without panicking. "Humph," Alliance Master Qin sneered and said to himself, pretending to be calm. He thought differently from Xie Guanquan. He thought that Jun Changshao and the Iron Bone disciples were only pretending to be strong. They must be very scared and nervous. Pretending? It didn't exist. If the situation permitted, sect leader Jun would play mahjong with his disciples. The 3rd elder of the Holy Spring Sect clasped his fingers together, and a looming spiritual power appeared. He said in a deep voice, "The Holy Spring Sect was also destroyed by you." Spiritual might rippled. If it was an ordinary person, feeling the heavy aura, they would definitely be paralyzed on the ground. Jun Changshao said disapprovingly, "Don't talk nonsense, hurry up and call Verger Glider out to fight with my disciples. You think you're awesome just because you have a strong aura? If you have the ability, come and kill me." The 3rd elder wouldn't kill him because this was an open battle. If he ignored his status and killed him, he would be ridiculed by other sections. Jun Changshao had calculated this point, which was why he was able to meet his gaze without fear. No matter how awesome you are, your aura and eyes can't kill people. The system said, if it's a martial emperor, looking back and smiling can make the host collapse into nothingness. The corner of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. A martial emperor looking back and smiling shyly at him like a woman, that scene is definitely a new material for Ghost Beast. Don't talk nonsense. Xie Guanquan covered his face and collapsed. This kid dares to say anything. Alliance Master Qin and the other sect leaders smiled even more. Yes, this is the arrogance, don't be afraid, keep it up. TSK Tisk. The 5th elder on the right grinned. A 9th-rate sect leader is quite arrogant, no wonder he dared to kill an outer disciple of the Holy Spring Sect. The words outer disciple made Xie Guanquan understand that the Holy Spring Sect's trip was to tell the world, not for the destruction of the Holy Spring Sect, but for the death of their disciples. The other sects have nothing to say about how to deal with the iron bone. Jun Changshao was quite surprised. The outer disciple you said is the patriarch and elder of the Holy Springs sect? Yes. The fifth elder said. TSK TSK TSK. Jun Changshao said. I heard that the Holy Springs sect is a famous righteous sect. I thought that Wei Yishi, who colluded with the bandits and assassins, was just a temporary worker. I didn't expect him to be a disciple of your sect. The third elder's face darkened. Of course. Jun Changshao said again. If the Holy Springs sect thinks that Jun is slandering people, I can take out the letter of Wei Yishi colluding with the bandit Zhou Tianba as evidence. The three were silent. The fourth elder, who had not spoken from beginning to end, said lightly, Wei Yishi and his brothers were just former outer disciples. They were expelled many years ago. Their collusion with the bandits is their own business, it has nothing to do with the Holy Springs sect. A fifth-rate sect also wants face. Jun Changshao cupped his hands. You discovered the bad behavior of the four outer disciples early on and expelled them. The Holy Springs sect is indeed a famous righteous sect. Jun admires you, admires you. The corners of everyone's mouth twitched. Xie Guangquan secretly said, this kid's mouth is really powerful, no wonder Situ Wang vomited blood on the spot. Now that Wei Yishi had been labeled as expelled, the Sacred Springs sect naturally could not use the fact that their outer court disciple was killed to look for trouble. Sect leader Jun, the third elder said lightly, it's clearly written in the letter of challenge that the inner disciple of the Holy Springs sect, Mo Shangfei, challenged you, not an iron bone disciple. Jun Changshao shrugged. I'm the leader of a sect. It's not honorable to win against a disciple of your sect, so it's the fairest for disciples to fight each other. Qin Haoran looked at him with disdain. As if you can really win against an inner disciple of the Holy Springs sect. The three elders of the Holy Springs sect looked at each other and quickly reached a tacit agreement. The third elder said, if that's the case, then let my sect's disciples experience the skills of the Iron Bone faction's disciples. Shangfei. He waved and said, let's fight. Yes. The disciple named Mo Shangfei walked out. This person was tall and strong, his exposed muscles were very solid. At first glance, one could tell that his strength was extraordinary. Jun Changshao thought to himself, what's his cultivation? The system said, an 8th grade martial disciple, about 17,000 pounds of pure physical strength. So high. Jun Changshao frowned. The previous leader of the Long Blade School, a 9th grade martial disciple, only had a strength of 14,000 pounds. The Holy Springs sect's disciple was 1 grade lower, but his strength was 3,000 pounds higher. Qingyang. He said in a low voice, the opponent is not weak, be careful. Li Qingyang walked to the center of the training field, a few meters away from Mo Shangfei. He cupped his hands and said, Li Qingyang of the Iron Bone School. The Sacred Springs sect's fifth elder picked his ears and said indifferently, Sect head Jun, the disciple my sect sent out is an 8th grade martial disciple. You sent out a 4th grade martial disciple. Aren't you deliberately sending yourself to be abused? Chapter 113. Rank 8 Martial Disciple. Su Xiaoma, Tian Qi, and the other disciples' expressions changed. The difference between rank 4 and rank 8 was too big. Could second senior brother win? Lu Qianqian frowned and said in a low voice, Sect Master, the opponent is too strong. Let me fight. She didn't think that second junior brother could win with Mo Shangfei's strength. Jun Changshao took out a chair from his interspatial ring and sat down. He tapped his fingers on the armrest and said, You are the senior sister. No matter when or where, you must have confidence in your junior brother. Lu Qianqian was silent. She stood behind with the other junior brothers. Li Qingyang's talent is not bad, but Mo Shangfei of the Holy Springs sect also has a high-grade spirit root. He has no chance of winning. Iron Bone is the only one who can take out this disciple, right? Alliance Master Qin and the other sect masters sneered. This was such a good opportunity. If they didn't mock Iron Bone, how could they vent their anger at Star Moon Pavilion? Of course. They didn't think that Li Qingyang was bad. But with the same talent, Mo Shangfei was much better than the other in terms of resources and mentors. If this #1 genius of Qingyang City joined Blue Mountain Sect, he would definitely be an inner disciple. His achievements would definitely be better than now. Sigh, such a waste of good talent. The elders of the various sects were regretful. But in reality, they were just mocking Iron Bone and Jun Changshao in different ways. Xie Guanquan thought, 2 months ago, Li Qingyang was only a 10th stage meridian opening. Now he is a rank 4 martial disciple. His growth speed is already not bad. You guys are really blind. They weren't blind. They were being black for the sake of being black. Jun Changshao didn't care about other people's mockery. He looked into the distance and saw a flash of light. He thought, Sinful Ji is also here. Yes. Xiao Ziji was also here. He was crouching on a high slope 800 meters away. His body was wrapped in the grass and one of his eyes was stuck to the lens. The muzzle of the Type 88 sniper rifle was already aimed at Mo Shangfei. When he was training in the wild, Xiao Ziji heard about the battle and rushed over in advance. He had been hiding in the bushes for a day and a night. Even the 3 Wuzong experts who came later did not expect a phantom sniper to be hiding in the dark. Sect leader. The gun was ready. Whoever you point at, this disciple will beat them up. Yi Xingchen lay on a rock far away and thought to himself, if I didn't use the Taishian Sutra to conceal your presence, do you really think no one would notice you lying in the grass? Sacred Spring Sect, Mo Shangfei. Mo Shangfei indifferently reported his name. His tone and eyes were full of disdain. He had heard of Li Qingyang before, but he did not take him seriously. After all, if he joined an unrated sect, he would definitely be slowly assimilated into trash. After reporting each other's names, the battle was supposed to start. However, Third Elder said, Sect Leader Jun, fists and feet have no eyes. If my disciple injures your disciple, please forgive him. Was he trying to tell him that the guy would be very fierce in his attacks? Jun Changshao shook his head and cupped his hands. If my disciple injures your disciple, please forgive him. Qin Haoran and the others rolled their eyes. A rank 4 martial artist injuring a rank 8 martial artist was definitely a joke. Third Elder was too lazy to argue with Jun Changshao. Instead, he said indifferently, you may begin. Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Mo Shangfei took a big stride forward. He gathered spiritual energy in his right fist and punched with great force. It was very fast and very sudden. Bang! Li Qingyang did not have time to dodge. He hastily crossed his arms and took the opponent's punch head-on. Thump thump thump. He frantically retreated more than 10 steps and barely managed to stabilize his body. Judging from the degree of spiritual energy rippling in the air, that guy's punch was at least 20,000 pounds. Phew! Li Qingyang shook his slightly numb arm. Mo Shangfei retracted his fist and said in surprise, to be able to take my Gale fist without batting an eyelid, your physical defense is not bad. However, he smiled and said, how many times can I take it? Swoosh! He rushed over with his movement technique. Before he arrived, his left and right fists frequently swung. Under the support of spiritual energy, they turned into shadows of fists. Middle-tier Gale Fist was known for its speed and fierceness. Mo Shangfei had comprehended it to the extreme. When he displayed it, Alliance Master Qin and the others were amazed. Su Xiaoma and Tian Qi's faces changed in shock. If it were them, they would not be able to dodge such a fast fist speed and power. They would definitely be battered and exhausted. Li Qingyang frowned slightly. He crossed his arms again, but with a few bangs, he took all the powerful shadows of fists. His body also retreated step by step. Ta! He retreated to the edge of the martial arts field and stepped on the stone floor with one foot to stabilize his body. Mo Shangfei, who was unforgiving, quickly followed. He rose into the air, and his right fist was supported by spiritual energy. It flashed with light and blasted over. This attack was very strong. Alliance Master Qin and the other sect leaders instantly judged that Li Qingyang could not dodge left and right. He could either retreat or take it head-on. If he retreated, he would lose. After taking a few punches in succession, he would definitely be injured if he took it head-on. At this time, they hoped that Li Qingyang would retreat because it was equivalent to losing. He had lost without making a move from the beginning. They would definitely laugh at him. Jun Changxiao's fingers tapped rhythmically. It was not deliberate because he was panicking, but because his state of mind was really stable. Ta! At this time, Li Qingyang suddenly stepped on the ground with one foot. His right fist was at his abdomen. Spiritual energy crazily poured into his arm from his meridians, and a dazzling light gathered in his fist. Exploding fist. With a cold shout, his right fist suddenly blasted out. At the same time, the light flashed, and a whirlpool was formed 1 meter under his feet. Bang bang bang. The sound of explosions resounded in the martial arts field like a string of firecrackers being lit. Everyone was shocked and surprised. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Li Qingyang's fist, which carried the power of explosion, directly hit Mo Shangfei's fist and sent him flying. Thump thump thump. The inner disciple of the Sacred Spring Sect staggered and fell to the ground. He was forced to retreat more than 20 meters before he could stabilize himself. His eyes were filled with shock as he felt an intense pain from his right fist. The strength of his Gale fist had reached 22,000 pounds. When he faced Mo Shangfei head-on, he was completely at a disadvantage. Alliance Master Qin and the others, who had already prepared a line to mock Iron Bone, were all stunned when they saw Mo Shangfei being beaten back. It was unbelievable that he could still turn the situation around in such a situation. Exploding fist. What kind of martial arts technique was this? Why had they not heard of it? With the cultivation of a 4th-grade martial disciple, he was able to defeat an 8th-grade martial disciple who used the Gale fist. Could it be a middle-grade fist technique? Yi Xingchen, who was watching from the high slope, was secretly shocked. This fist technique is definitely not simple. Swoosh! Suddenly, Li Qingyang rushed over. At the same time, his right fist turned into a palm knife. He poured spiritual energy into his palm and waved it in the air. Swoosh! 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 In an instant, 3 crescent moon-like flowing lights, dragging arcs of light, shot out from 3 directions. Wherever they passed, faint light shadows were left behind. That's right, I slashed. Xie Guangquan exclaimed, spiritual force-type martial arts technique. Qin Haoran and the other sect leaders widened their eyes. Their eyes were finally filled with shock. Even the 3 elders of the Sacred Spring Sect, who were sitting calmly on the fishing platform, almost couldn't help but stand up when they saw Li Qingyang slashing out 3 crescent moon-like flowing lights. Spiritual force-type martial arts technique. The Sacred Spring Sect also had it, but the lowest level was middle grade. Only martial masters could use it. The weak cyclone in the dantian of a martial disciple was extremely difficult to use. Jun Changxiao copied the 5th elder and crossed one leg over the other. He smiled faintly and said, "You don't have to be so surprised, right?" Chapter 114. Li Qingyang's self-slash, a spiritual energy-type martial skill, immediately shocked everyone. Unbelievable. Knight Emperor was also shocked. In his previous life, he had practiced many kinds of spiritual martial arts, so he knew the weakness of this kind of martial arts. For example, the sun and moon slash he practiced was also a spiritual martial arts, but the requirement was to reach Wusheng's level. Moreover, one slash would consume 60% of the energy of the cyclone. What about Li Qingyang? He just raised his hand and slashed out 3 rays of light. The process was too easy. The rupturing fist and the self-chop shocked Yi Xingchen deeply. He realized that the Iron Bone martial arts were not bad. Breaking through to martial disciple and practicing the martial arts of this sect seems to be better than practicing the martial arts of this emperor. He thought to himself. Yi Xingqian, who was originally only interested in Yi Jinjing, had a strong impression of rupturing fist and self-chop. Swoosh! 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 On the martial arts practice field, 3 rays of crescent light shot out in different trajectories. Mo Shangfei, who had just stabilized his body, suddenly changed his expression. He hurriedly used Gale Fist to meet them. Bang! Bang! His fists collided with the crescent light coming from the left and right, causing his arms to tremble violently. He felt as if his muscles were being torn apart. Mo Shangfei didn't have time to grit his teeth because the 3rd ray of crescent light shot out from the ground. It drew a 90-degree arc from bottom to top and smashed into his chin. Swoosh! The strong force sent his whole body flying. Finally, he fell heavily on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Being able to block 2 self-chop, this Sacred Spring Sect inner disciple's performance was not bad. However, the 3rd attack was from a tricky angle. There was no way to dodge it. Damn! Damn it! Mo Shangfei wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stood up. It seemed that his body was very strong. He was only slightly injured after being hit. This was because Li Qingyang didn't use all of his spiritual power. Otherwise, his bones would have been broken if he only used his fists to block the self-chop. The 3 elders' faces suddenly became gloomy. He had thought that his sect's disciple would be able to defeat his opponent easily, but who would have thought that he would be injured by his opponent's successive attacks? Qin Haoran said, although the spiritual energy martial technique is powerful, its weakness is that it cannot be sustained for long. If the Sacred Spring Sect disciples can withstand it, there is nothing to be afraid of. The Iron Bone disciple must have used up a lot of energy after using 3 moves in a row. He must be exhausted if he continues fighting. These elders of the 100 Sect Alliance seemed to be discussing amongst themselves, but their voices were very loud. It was obvious that they were reminding the inner disciples of the Sacred Spring Sect not to be impatient and to slowly exhaust him to death. Mo Shangfei didn't need to be reminded. He also knew the weakness of spiritual power-type martial techniques. He shook his arms and said with a cold gaze, "I was careless just now and let you seize the opportunity." This time, he was serious and no longer underestimated the enemy. The 5th elder picked his ears and grinned. The show has just begun. Not bad. Jun Changshao shook his legs and scratched his nose. The show has just begun. Schwa! After adjusting himself, Mo Shangfei rushed over once again. He used the Gale Fist, and his speed was obviously much faster than before. Instantly, more than 10 fist shadows appeared, and the power was quite explosive. Bang! 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 Li Qingyang used the rupturing fist. The sound of firecrackers and the sound of fist fighting spread out together. Faint spiritual energy rippled in the air. In just a moment, the 2 of them exchanged more than 10 moves with fist techniques. The dust under their feet collided with each other, forming a whirlwind around them and tearing the broken leaves into strips. Bang! The 2 of them exchanged another punch, and both of them retreated 4 to 5 meters. Li Qingyang stretched out his 10 fingers, and his arms were numb from the shock. Mo Shangfei wasn't any better. This kind of intense confrontation was like a rock hitting a rock. It hurt both the enemy and oneself. Looks like it will be hard to determine the winner in a short time. This is really strange. A 4th grade martial disciple can actually fight evenly with an 8th grade martial disciple. The quality of the fist technique used by the Iron Bone disciple is not low. Otherwise, he would have been defeated long ago. The Holy Spring Sect disciple's realm is high, and the spiritual energy in his cyclone is boundless. It won't be a problem for him to fight a protracted battle. The Iron Bone disciple's hands are shaking. In my opinion, the spiritual energy in his Dantian cyclone has been consumed by 70 to 80%. Swish! Li Qingyang waved his hand and said, "I chop." Whoosh, the crescent-shaped flowing light burst out. He could still use spiritual energy-type martial arts? The sect leaders who were discussing saw the flowing light rushing over, and they were all dumbfounded on the spot. "I chop! I chop!" In a very short time, Li Qingyang waved his hand again and slashed out two crescent-shaped flowing lights. He used practical actions to fiercely slap a group of big shots in the face and tell them that his spiritual energy was abundant. Bang! 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 Mo Shangfei was alert. He used his body movement to dodge at the first moment. The three flowing lights bombarded the stone slabs one after another, smashing them into pieces. This time, it was Li Qingyang's turn to be unforgiving. Taking advantage of the other party's escape, he turned his body sideways and continuously made cutting motions like playing table tennis. Crescent-shaped flowing lights shot out one after another. Watching the crescent-shaped flowing lights fly past their eyes in different arcs on the training field, the expressions on the faces of Alliance Master Qin and the martial artists of the various sects stiffened. A spiritual energy-type martial arts with high consumption was thrown out with a wave of his hand. The scene was simply too frightening. Although Mo Shangfei tried to show off his coquettish movement in the light of the blade and sword, he could only dodge three flowing lights and was mercilessly hit by the following flowing lights on his face, shoulders, hands, and feet. Plop. Finally, after being bombarded, he fell on all fours on the ground. Blood spurted out from the side of his face, and he also rolled his eyes and fainted. Although the power of Li Qingyang's "I chop" was not strong, it could not withstand the wild bombardment. Not to mention an 8th-grade martial disciple, even a 9th-grade martial disciple would not be able to withstand it. We won. Second senior brother won. Su Xiaoma and Tian Qi were so excited that they jumped up. Although Lu Qianqian was expressionless, she secretly said in her heart, "When we go back, I have to cultivate my I chop." This woman was the same as Yi Xingqian. She was only interested in Yi Jingjing. As for rupturing fist and I chop, although she had them long ago, she never cultivated them. Seeing that his senior brother had won, Xiao Ziji gently raised his head and his index finger also loosened from the trigger. He was always on high alert. If the battle just now was not favorable to second senior brother, he would have killed Mo Shangfei immediately. Junior brother Yi. Xiao Ziji grinned and said, "Second senior brother won." "TSK, the cold and aloof Knight Emperor said disdainfully, do you have to be so happy after winning against an 8th-grade martial disciple?" His state of mind was calm because he had not integrated himself into the iron bone. He did not have the sect's sense of honor. Xiao Ziji was different. He recognized the iron bone, the sect leader, and his senior and junior brothers. Therefore, the joy brought by Li Qingyang's victory was no less than that of personally winning. "Aya." Jun Changshao stood up and said apologetically, "Fists and legs have no eyes. I'm really sorry to beat up your sect's disciples like this." The Sacred Spring sect disciples standing on the left had anger in their eyes. Some of their hands were already on the hilt of their swords. Lu Qianqian took 2 steps forward and stood shoulder to shoulder with the sect leader. Her jade hand was also on the hilt of her sword. Her pair of starry eyes flashed with coldness. "My sister Qian is ruthless and doesn't talk much." Su Xiaoma and Tian Qi also came over. Their hands were on the hilt of cold-edged sword. They glared angrily and did not show any weakness. Xiao Ziji once again approached the 8-fold scope. The crosshair locked onto the head of the Sacred Spring sect disciple closest to the sect leader. As long as he dared to move, his head would explode. Swords were drawn and bows were bent. The atmosphere was solemn. Chapter 115. The Holy Spring sect disciples found it hard to accept that Mo Shangfei had fainted, so they placed their hands on the hilt of their swords, as if they were planning to attack. Lu Qianqian and Su Xiaoma were not afraid either. "As long as you dare to attack, we will definitely dare to draw our swords." At this moment, the iron bones of the Iron Bones sect were vividly displayed. Once in the Black Wind stronghold, a disciple was greedy for life, and did not hesitate to betray the sect and join the bandits, which made Jun Changshao very disappointed. Now, facing the Holy Spring sect, this disciple did not have the slightest fear, and even dared to roll up his sleeves and face off against a strong enemy, which made him feel even more gratified. I don't expect my disciples to be so talented. I also don't care if my disciples are noble or not. I only hope that my disciples are sincere and see themselves as a member of the Iron Bones sect, living and dying together, sharing riches and honor together. Sect leader Jun, the third elder of the Holy Springs sect, said disdainfully, "What does your disciple mean?" Jun Changshao said indifferently, "What your disciple means is what my disciple means. Don't pretend to be confused." His disciples were all so hot-blooded. If he was scared, how could he be a sect leader? How could he be a main character? Damn it! Isn't it just a fight? This daddy's hard-to-withdraw blade has long been thirsty. At that moment, Jun Changshao wished he could take off his shirt, reveal the azure dragon on his left and the white tiger on his right, and use the one yang finger and lion's roar on his chest, shouting, "Come here." No wonder he was so calm, he had the hard-to-withdraw blade to rely on. Qin Haoren and the other sect leaders laughed. Daring to talk back to the elder of the Holy Springs sect like this, it would be difficult for you to leave the Spirit Springs sect with your disciples. At this moment, Xie Guangquan came out and advised, "Elder C, sect leader Jun, it's just a spar between disciples, there's no need to be so hostile." He was more inclined towards Jun Changshao, hoping that he could get through this calamity. "Thank you, City Lord." Qin Haoren said indifferently, "Elder C is one of the 8 elders of the Holy Springs sect, a mere sect leader of a 9th-rate sect, speaking in such a tone, isn't it too presumptuous?" Alliance head Qin. Jun Changshao took out his sect-level waist tag and said indifferently, "Please open your dog eyes and let me see clearly. My Iron Bones sect is now an 8th-rate sect." Qin Haoren was furious, "What did you say? You didn't hear clearly." Jun Changshao raised his middle finger and raised his head, "I say, you, the Alliance head of the 100 Sect Alliance, are but a dog in front of the Sacred Spring sect." He wouldn't say anything if he just wanted to make a fool of himself. But if he wanted to fan the flames in a strange way, he had to go straight to the point without going through the proper procedure. As the sect leader of a 6th-rate sect and the Alliance head of the 100 Sect Alliance, how could Qin Haoren tolerate such humiliation? The killing intent in his eyes was not concealed at all. Tsk tisk. The Sacred Spring sect's 5th elder said, "An 8th-rate sect dares to humiliate Alliance Lord Qin in such an arrogant manner. It looks like they don't have any dignity in the Azure Sun County." He also knew how to fan the flames, and he was even more adept at it. Crack! Qin Haoren clenched his fists and took a step forward. However, just as he took a step forward, he heard a bang from afar. A fist-sized hole appeared on the stone slab a few inches in front of his feet. Swoosh! 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 The 3 elders of the Sacred Spring sect stood up and looked coldly in the direction where the light came from. They saw a person standing on the slope with a smoking long object in his hand. Xie Guangquan and the leaders of the various sects also looked over, and their hearts were filled with shock. The light was so fast that they almost missed it. Was that a hidden weapon? The 3 elders of the Sacred Springs sect looked at each other in dismay, their eyes showing a rare solemnity. From the speed and power of the light, they could tell that if they didn't have spiritual energy to protect their bodies, they would be severely injured if they were hit. Everyone. Jun Changshao sat on a chair and crossed his legs. He interlocked his fingers and smiled, "The person above is a disciple of my sect. He's proficient in 36,000 types of hidden weapons. The hidden weapon he's holding is one of them. It's called the Divine Might Flamethrower." Divine Might Flamethrower? Everyone was at a loss. They had never heard of it. Jun Changshao continued, "Sect leader Qin, that was just a warning. If you think my iron bone is easy to bully, I don't mind letting my disciple reward you with another one." There were 3 Wuzong from the Sacred Spring sect, and Qin Haoren was also a Wuzong. Surrounded by strong opponents, he dared to let Xiao Ziji fire as a warning. What courage! Xie Guangquan secretly said, Sect leader Jun is really amazing. Qin Haoran, who was warned, had an ugly expression. After a little consideration, he retracted his leg. When the light exploded in front of him, the power it emitted scared him. It was hard to tell if the Type 88 sniper rifle could kill a Wuzong, but one thing was certain. It was hard to catch it with a high firing rate. It was easy to dodge a spear in the open, but difficult to guard against a hidden arrow. Sect leader Qin was also a little afraid that the disciple would fire another hidden weapon. Moreover, there was no need for him to take the initiative in the matter between Iron Bone and the Sacred Spring Sect. Of course. It was hard to swallow the anger of being described as a dog. Iron Bone and the 100 Sect Alliance had just parted ways. Now, they had completely fallen out. Xiao Ziji's warning shot shocked Sect leader Qin and the other Sect leaders, as well as the Sacred Spring Sect disciples. Even though they had the urge to draw their swords, they did not plan to attack. After all, there was an Iron Bone disciple who was proficient in more than 30,000 hidden weapons. Humph, the third elder of the Sacred Spring Sect said indifferently, Sect leader Jun is so arrogant. I would like to see what you're capable of. The purpose of this battle was to embarrass Iron Bone and let others know that even the disciples expelled by their sect could not be provoked. But now, the disciple they sent out was defeated by an Iron Bone disciple. The plot was different from what they expected. It would be hard for them to just let it go. Therefore, they directly challenged Jun Changshao with their status as sect leader. Qin Haoran and the others sneered. Wuzong-level sect leader challenged this guy to a battle. If he accepted, he would definitely be beaten like a dog. Can I reject? Jun Changshao rubbed his nose and asked. He was not afraid of a battle. After all, there was a talisman that could increase one's strength. The key was that there was no mission. If he won, it would be a loss. A sixth-rate sect leader said indifferently, You're a sect leader. The one you challenged is an elder of a sect. If you reject, you will be ridiculed by the people of Jianghu. Oh. Jun Changshao replied. Damn you. Hurry up and give me a side mission. Let me fight him fair and square. Unfortunately, there was no response. The third elder said indifferently, Sect leader Jun, do you dare to accept the challenge? His eyes and tone were full of disdain. Does he think I don't dare to accept the challenge? Jun Changshao thought to himself, what's his realm? How much strength does he have? The system said, first grade Wuzong. It's hard to accurately gauge his strength, but it's at least 200,000 pounds. 200,000 pounds? More than that? That's too high. My strength is around 25,000. Even with a 5 times boost from the talisman, it's still a far cry from his 200,000. The system poured cold water on him. Not only is there a difference in strength between the host and him, there is also a difference in realm. If you accept the challenge, your chances of winning are 0. The difference in strength between martial disciples was not big. It was not rare to beat someone above one's realm. But if a martial disciple were to fight a Wuzong, it would be suicide. Damn it, this is a bit of a dilemma. Do I have to waste the only talisman I have and use it? Ha ha ha. Just at that moment, a burst of laughter came from behind. Elder Ma and a few other disciples of the Tsang Mountain sect strode over and said, Elder C of the Grandmaster Realm wants to challenge our little friend Jun, who is only a martial disciple. Sect leader C's face darkened, Ma Yinteng. Chapter 116. Sect leader Jun was in a dilemma as to whether or not to use the unstoppable blade against the Holy Spring sect's third elder when Tsang Mountain sect's elder Ma arrived. Phew! He let out a sigh of relief and said, the opening talisman is safe. Elder Ma Yun walked over and stood shoulder to shoulder with Jun Changshao. He smiled and said, Little friend Jun, I didn't expect to see you again so soon after we parted in Qingyang City. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, Qingyang County is too small, we meet everywhere. Ha ha ha. Ma Yunting laughed and said, what a good, we meet everywhere. Qin Haoran and the other sect leaders' faces changed. Elder Ma called June little friend and was talking and laughing. This meant that the two had a close relationship. Damn it! Since when did Little Iron Bone hug Song Mountain Sect's thigh? Jun Changshao really didn't hug any thigh. He only gave Ma Yunting some pointers which made him feel grateful. When he heard about the Holy Springs Sect's challenge, he hurried over. They came at the right time. Otherwise, once our sect leader Jun unsheathed his 40-meter-long blade, it would be difficult to take it back. The three elders of the Holy Springs Sect had ugly expressions. Could it be that the Tsang Mountain Sect had rushed over to support the Iron Bone Sect? Elder C. Ma Yunting said indifferently, although you and little friend Jun are sect leaders, Wuzong is challenging a martial disciple. Don't you feel ashamed? Humph. Elder C said coldly, I was just joking. Elder Ma, don't take it seriously. Tsang Mountain Sect came to make a joke. If they didn't come, then it wouldn't be a joke. So it's like this. Ma Yunting pretended to be enlightened and said, like I said, how could a Wuzong challenge a martial disciple? Alliance leader Qin and the other sect leaders suddenly realized that Tsang Mountain Sect wanted to support Iron Bone. They couldn't help but sigh. It was good to have a thigh to hug. Elder C's eyes became gloomy. Tsang Mountain Sect was also a fifth-rate sect, their strength not weaker than the Holy Springs Sect. If they really wanted to protect Iron Bone, they would have to return without success. Elder C. Ma Yunting said, I've heard a little about the Spiritual Springs Sect. Is your Holy Springs Sect here to denounce us? Elder C said indifferently, Elder Ma, please don't misunderstand. The Wei brothers have long been expelled and have nothing to do with our Sacred Springs Sect. This trip is only to exchange pointers and discuss the Tao with Iron Bone. It's not a punitive expedition. The two of them had a casual conversation, but it felt like neither of them was willing to give an inch. As expected of a fifth-rate sect, their exchange of words was like a battle between two experts. Ma Yunting glanced at Mo Shangfei, who had fainted on the martial arts practice field, and said, if I'm not wrong, your disciple seems to have been defeated, and the result of the sparring has been decided, right? At the mention of this, the faces of the three elders of the Sacred Springs Sect turned even uglier. Jun Changshao seized the opportunity and said, Elder C, if you feel that it's not enough, you and I can send another disciple to have a friendly match. No need. Elder C pulled a long face and said, if fate wills it in the future, let's have another match. Mo Shangfei was the best inner disciple he had brought, but he had been beaten unconscious. If the other disciples went up to fight one-on-one, they definitely wouldn't have an advantage. Elder C glanced at the two elders behind him and cupped his hands, saying, Elder Ma, the sect's affairs are busy, so we'll take our leave first. After saying that, he started to walk away. Perhaps because he had a bellyful of anger, he didn't even bother to greet Alliance head Qin and the others. Wait a moment. However, just as he reached the door, Jun Changshao shouted. Elder C stopped, but didn't turn around. He said, Sect head Jun, is there something else? Jun Changshao also had his back to him. He lowered his head and rubbed his fingers, saying, our Iron Bone Sect's #1 motto is to not reciprocate. Changed again, quickly write it down. Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma slightly closed their eyes, engraving the newest motto in their hearts. If conditions permitted, they might take out a small notebook and write it down. Not reciprocate is impolite. Elder C said in a low voice, Sect head Jun, what do you mean by this? Jun Changshao rubbed his nose and said, 1 year later, this seat will personally lead the sect's disciples to the Holy Springs Sect to exchange pointers and discuss the Tao. Xie Guanquan and the other sect heads immediately widened their eyes. Although there was an extra year, it was undoubtedly a challenge to the Holy Springs Sect. An 8th-rate sect challenging a 5th-rate sect, this was absolutely unprecedented. Elder C said disdainfully, Sect head Jun, to say something unpleasant, your Iron Bone sect really doesn't have the qualifications to come to my Holy Spring sect to exchange pointers and discuss the Tao. Indeed. The difference between an 8th-rate sect and a 5th-rate sect was too great. Jun Changshao smiled faintly. I don't have the qualifications now, but that doesn't mean I won't have the qualifications a year later. Good. Elder C said straightforwardly. My Holy Spring sect accepts the challenge. 1 year later, we will wait for sect head Jun and our disciples to come to Holy Spring Mountain to exchange pointers and discuss the Tao. However, Elder C's eyes darkened. When the time comes, sect head Jun must not miss the appointment. Jun Changshao said, Elder C, please rest assured. My Iron Bone sect's first mission is to be civilized, harmonious, honest, and friendly. We will not do anything that goes back on our word. The cultivators present all twitched their mouths. They even wanted to take the liberty to ask, Sect Head Jun, how many of your Iron Bone sect's first missions are there? Elder C said indifferently, 1 year later, my Holy Spring sect respectfully awaits the arrival of Iron Bone sect. After saying that, he waved his sleeves and angrily left with the other elders and disciples. He had originally wanted to punish Iron Bone sect in front of everyone, but in the end, his inner disciple had been beaten unconscious and he had to carry him back. This loss of face was too great, so it would be strange if he wasn't angry. After the Holy Spring sect left, the excitement died down. The various sect heads walked over and bid farewell to Ma Yinteng with a smile. However, just as Qin Haoren walked to the door, Jun Changshao said, Alliance head Qin, after some time, my Iron Bone sect will also go to Haoqi sect to spar. Humph, Qin Haoren said indifferently, this Qin will be waiting. After he left with the various sect heads, Xie Guanquan walked over and cupped his fists towards Elder Ma. Then, he shook his head and said, Sect head Jun, you first set a 1-year appointment with the Holy Spring sect, then set a battle appointment with Haoqi sect. Aren't you making enemies everywhere? Jun Changshao said, City Lord Xia, do you think my Iron Bone sect can still get along peacefully with the 100 Sect Alliance and Alliance head Qin? No. Xie Guanquan said. From the moment this brat called Qin Haoren a dog, he knew that both sides had completely fallen out. The next time they met in the wild, if they didn't fight, they would be letting down the bitter hatred between them. Jun Changshao shrugged and said, since we are enemies, why not set a battle appointment and let everyone know? Hearing this, Xie Guanquan was enlightened. He immediately raised his thumb and praised, Sect Head Jun's move is brilliant, this Xie admires. As long as the news of the battle appointment with Alliance head Qin spread to the Jianghu, no matter if it was Haoqi sect or the Alliance members, no one would be able to find trouble with Iron Bone sect directly. Otherwise, they would be criticized. This was a good plan. However, Xie Guanquan also knew that once the battle was set, they would be able to avoid being disturbed by the Alliance. But sooner or later, they would have to accept the battle. Would sect leader Jun and his Iron Bone sect be able to defeat the 6 Streams Vast Qi sect? P.S. Please vote. Chapter 117. The people of the Holy Spring sect left. Qin Haoren and the other sect leaders also left. Although they left at different times, what they had in common was that they all left with a belly full of anger. One failed to teach Jun Changshao a lesson, one was scolded like a dog, and the rest wanted to see a joke but failed. It would be strange if they were happy. The other forces who came to join in the fun were shocked. Iron Bone Li Qingyang defeated an 8th-grade martial disciple with the cultivation of a 4th-grade martial disciple. This was absolutely valiant. What was even more valiant was that Jun Changshao was not afraid of a giant like the Holy Spring sect. He even set an appointment to spar with the Holy Spring sect 1 year later. Was he sick in the head? This was what all the martial artists were thinking as they went down the mountain road. They could understand that disciples relied on special martial skills to win. An 8th-rate sect challenging a 5th-rate sect, this was absolutely a joke. Iron Bone sect leader is really bold, daring to challenge the Holy Spring sect. He really doesn't know how much he's worth. In my opinion, he can't even pass the test of Alliance leader Qin, let alone go to the Holy Springs Sect. That guy didn't say a specific time limit. Who knows when he will go to the Vastchi Sect to spar. Ever since Sect Master Jun made a name for himself in the 100 Sect recruitment, our Azure Sun County hasn't been peaceful. Many martial artists were discussing in private, but they were also looking forward to Jun Changshao taking his disciples to the Vastchi Sect as soon as possible. After all, this would add a little fun to their boring cultivation life. Not to mention, it was not good for the Jianghu to be too peaceful. Outside the ruins of the Spirit Spring Sect, Jun Changshao walked out and said gratefully, "Elder Ma, thank you for coming in time. Otherwise, Jun really doesn't know how to face the Holy Spring Sect." Ma Yinting said, "My Blue Mountain Sect is in the Azure Sun County after all. Naturally, we will not tolerate the Holy Spring Sect bullying little friend Jun." Jun Changshao said seriously, "Jun will remember today's help. If Elder Ma needs my iron bone in the future, I will not spare any effort to help." His principle was, if you are bad to me, I am worse than you. You treat me well, and I treat you even better. What's more, the Five Streams Green Mountain Sect had a solid foundation. If he could make friends with them, it would really be a good thigh for him. Jun Changshao would not take the initiative to hug a thigh, but since the thigh had extended itself to him, he would definitely hug it. If he was so shameless as to pluck the leg hair one by one, then his brain would definitely be clamped by the door. Elder Ma smiled and said, "Sect Master Jun, I do have a request." "Please speak," Jun Changshao said. Elder Ma looked at the disciples behind him and said, "These good-for-nothing disciples have encountered some trouble on the path of martial arts. Little friend Jun, please give us some pointers." Jun Changshao said, "No problem." As he spoke, he crushed a primary grade insight talisman and began to listen to the Blue Mountain Sect disciples talk about their own problems in martial arts, giving them the most correct pointers. At the same time, he also practiced the martial arts of the Tsang Mountain Sect. He couldn't be blamed. With the enhancement of the insight talisman, as long as he obtained the cultivation technique, he would be able to comprehend it within minutes. Of course, this kind of magical insight talisman had a drawback, which was that it was only applicable to the martial arts of the Falling Star continent and had no effect on the martial arts of the mall. It was impossible for Jun Changshao to comprehend the martial arts of the mall with the insight talisman. Fortunately, the 3 martial arts of the mall that had been refreshed during this period were not too difficult to learn. In just more than 10 minutes, the disciples of the Tsang Mountain Sect were guided one by one. They were all lost in thought, and their confusion about martial arts suddenly became clear. Xie Guanquan, who was next to him, was dumbfounded. The disciples of the 5th-rate sect were enlightened by the 8th-rate sect leader one by one. This scene was really unimaginable. He leaned over and said rather embarrassedly, "Sect Master Jun, I also have a problem on the path of martial arts. I wonder if you can solve it for me." "Please go ahead," Jun Changshao said. Just now in the martial arts practice field, when City Lord Xia came forward to persuade him, he knew that he was on his side, so he didn't mind giving him some pointers. Xie Guanquan told him about a kind of fist technique that he was practicing and even demonstrated it on the spot. Jun Changshao was silent for a while, then gave him professional technical guidance and slightly changed the way he operated the fist technique. Of course, he also learned the martial arts technique. This change stunned City Lord Xia for a long time. In the end, he gave a thumbs up and exclaimed, "Sect Master Jun's slight change solved my confusion for many years. You are really a god." Jun Changshao said humbly, "This is my only strong point. My martial arts are not worth mentioning. I will have to rely on City Lord Xia in the future." When it was time to be arrogant, he would be arrogant. When it was time to build a good relationship, he would have to build a good relationship. After all, there was still a long way to go. If he offended the whole world, he would die sooner or later unless he had the protagonist's halo. Xie Guanquan was also a wily old fox. How could he not understand the meaning of his words? So he said seriously, "Sect Master Jun, please rest assured. As long as you are in the territory of Qingyang City, Anyone who dares to touch your iron bone will be the enemy of the 3.6 million people of Qingyang City. This city lord was a little cute to be able to pull out 3.6 million people without saying anything. However, he didn't expect that one day in the future, the flames of war would spread to Qingyang County. Tens of thousands of cavalry would arrive at Qingyang City, and a fierce man and some fierce disciples would stand on the city walls to protect the 3.6 million people with their iron bones. His disciple had received some pointers and needed to go into seclusion to comprehend them. So Ma Yinting bid farewell. However, before he left, he gave Xie Guanquan 1,000,000 taels as thanks for the pointers. Jun Changshao said in surprise, 1,000,000 taels in one go. Elder Ma is really rich. Xie Guanquan said, although the Blue Mountains sect lives in seclusion in the Blue Mountains sect and rarely travels in the Jianghu, they have properties in every city and are managed by Elder Ma. Their financial power cannot be underestimated. As expected. Jun Changshao thought, whether it is the previous world or the present world, this surnamed Ma is really amazing. The system said, go and call your father. Scram. Jun Changshao brought his disciple and Xie Guanquan down the mountain and returned to Qingyang City. As for Xiao Ziji and Yixingchen, they continued to cultivate. Not long after, the news of Iron Bone's one-year battle with the Sacred Spring Sect spread throughout Qingyang County. Without a doubt, it caused a huge uproar. Have you heard about the matter of the Spiritual Spring Sect? This was the first sentence that martial artists said when they met. If someone said that they had not heard about it, then they were definitely fat otakus and would be despised by everyone. The one-year battle. Not only did it spread throughout Qingyang County, it also spread to other counties. After the families and sects of the counties heard the news, not only did they remember the unknown Iron Bone, they also unanimously believed that they were courting death. In fact, the reason why Jun Changshao dared to issue the battle was just like Xiao Ziji's 3-year battle. He had set a goal for himself, such as defeating a 5th-rate sect a year later. Not starting with an 8th-rate or 7th-rate sect, but directly aiming for a 5th-rate sect, this was really a bit too valiant. If one did not become stronger while courting death, one would be singing a sad song while courting death. This was very exciting. After returning to the sect, Jun Changshao gathered his disciples and said, 1 year later, we will go to the Sacred Spring Sect to spar. Your mission is to become stronger and stronger. Tell me loudly, can you do it? Yes. The disciples shouted with their hands behind their backs. OJ8K, disband. Chapter 118. The one-year agreement with the Sacred Spring Sect and the sparring at the Haoqi Sect made the atmosphere in Iron Bone more serious, and the disciples worked harder on their cultivation. But it was far from enough. Not to mention fighting against a 5th-rate sect, just facing a 6th-rate sect was like a huge mountain in front of them, and it was very difficult to surmount. After returning, Jun Changshao had been thinking about this problem, and finally came to the conclusion that to make the disciples stronger, they could only rely on elixirs and spirit stones. The system said, elixirs and spirit stones are only supplementary goods, the disciples' spirit root aptitude determines everything. That's right. Jun Changshao agreed. Elixirs and spirit stones can certainly improve cultivation quickly, but the disciples' spirit roots are ordinary, and sooner or later they will be unable to continue. If I can use the aptitude-modifying elixir to improve my spirit root, the other disciples must be able to as well. Jun Changshao murmured. A bold idea rose in his mind, to use the aptitude-modifying elixir to improve the quality of the disciples' spirit roots. In the shopping list, there were 3 types of aptitude-modifying elixirs, which could easily make a disciple with a low-grade spirit root reach the high-grade level. But to buy all 3 types, it would cost 150 contribution points. With the current contribution points limit, he could only buy 3 sets to help 3 disciples improve. Jun Changshao murmured, with my current ability, I can't train all of them, but I can let some of them become stronger first. Every sect had an inner sect division, and the inner sect was equal to the elites, and enjoyed enough resources. Jun Changshao wanted to let some of the disciples become stronger first, and in fact, it was equivalent to dividing the inner and outer sect disciples. In a large sect, to become an inner sect disciple, one must rely on one's own aptitude and hard work to fight for it. Jun Changshao wanted to choose a few first. Li Qingyang with the high-grade spirit root and the mysterious Lu Qianqian could be excluded, and he quickly drew up the list of disciples to focus on. Xiao Ziji, Su Xiaoma, Tian Qi, Li Fei, and Yi Xingchen. The next day, Jun Changshao officially announced that from today onwards, Iron Bone would be divided into inner and outer disciples. The first batch of inner disciples would consist of 7. I treat all of you equally. If you want to become an inner sect disciple, you must prove yourself with your strength, he added. The disciples didn't feel dispirited at all. Instead, they became even more determined to become stronger. Work hard. Work harder. Use your own strength to become an inner court disciple. The division between the inner and outer sects once again stimulated the Iron Bone disciples' passion for cultivation. After all, it was tantamount to giving them a goal to strive for. Sect leader. After disbanding, Lu Qianqian walked into the main hall and said, "Since we're going to divide the inner and outer sect, the rewards and punishments must also be set. Only then will the junior brothers have more motivation to cultivate and not slack off." Leaning on the chair, Jun Changshao smiled. "What do you think?" Lu Qianqian said, "There will be a strength assessment every month, a small disciple competition every 3 months, and a big disciple competition every year. This system was used by many sections. How many protagonists in novels didn't shine in various competitions in academies and sects, and eventually become gods, demons, emperors, and celestial lords?" "Yes," Jun Changshao said. The existence of the system had its reasons. He couldn't avoid it. Moreover, didn't the world's top student also stand out in the annual assessment and become an existence that everyone looked up to? How are the rewards and punishments? The champion of the big disciple competition every year will become an inner court disciple. The top 9 will be rewarded. The same goes for the top 10 in the small competition every 3 months. In the strength assessment every month, the outstanding will be rewarded accordingly. The bottom will have to do labor for a certain period of time. Hearing Lu Qianqian explain the various rewards and punishments in such detail, Li Qingyang couldn't help but think, this is definitely the first time senior sister has spoken so much. Jun Changshao said, yes. He adopted Lu Qianqian's suggestion to set up various tests and small competitions for Iron Bone. He also thought seriously about the rewards. In the strength assessment every month, the winner will receive 3 Qi gathering pills. In the small competition every 3 months, the champion will receive 10 Qi gathering pills, the second and third place will receive 5, and the 4th to 10th place will receive 3 each. The rewards of the big competition every year were more generous. The champion will not only become an inner court disciple, but will also be rewarded with the basic cold-edged sword and 20 Qi gathering pills. The top 9 will also receive different amounts of rewards. This was only a temporary reward system. When the sect became stronger and had more martial arts resources, it would definitely be improved. Unlike other sects, as long as a disciple joined, there would be various benefits. For example, the sect's martial arts could be practiced freely, the basic body-shaping pill would be given to everyone, and the meridian-opening pill would be given out at a fixed time. Just this point alone made even the most powerful sects feel ashamed of their inferiority. Late at night, Jun Changshao sat on the roof of the main hall and took a puff of his cigar. He blew out a smoke ring and said, "The division of disciples and the rewards and punishments have been established. It represents the formal establishment of the sect. My goal is," holding the cigar and pointing to the sky, he said heroically, "to conquer the sea of stars." Bang! Plop! Oh my God, Li Fei, you kicked the sect leader down. Rustle, rustle, rustle. In the dark and damp mountain forest, a figure bent over and ran quickly. Then, he stuck to a moss-covered rock and sprinkled a handful of grass leaves, which then drifted away with the wind. This was Xiao Ziji, locating the wind direction and speed. Shwa! Suddenly, he appeared from the rock, holding up the Type 88 sniper rifle. His index finger suddenly pulled the trigger, only to hear a banged sound. A stream of light burst out, accurately hitting the head of the bear that was tearing at the corpse 800 meters away. He didn't use the 8x scope, it was completely a shoulder shot. Very accurate, super accurate. Dang dang dang. Because of the recoil, Xiao Ziji took a few steps back. Shooting with the support of the magic-modified shoulder pads, he could ignore it, but shooting while standing still couldn't withstand it. After a while, he came to the front of the slain 5th-rank beast and took out its core with the cold-edged sword. A bright smile appeared on his face. Boom! The sound of a fist came from another area. Yixingchen's fist wind bombarded a 1st-rank tiger beast and finally cruelly cut open its stomach. Blood and minced meat splattered, making him look like a killing god. Xiao Ziji secretly said, "Junior brother Ye's killing intent is very strong." Just after his rebirth, he was forced to join the Iron Bone Club and suffered the torture of happy football. Now that he was training in the wilderness, if Night Emperor didn't vent his anger and killing intent, he might suffer internal injuries. Not counting the Spirit Spring Mountain, the two had been training in the wilderness for 7 days. Relying on the Yi Jing, Xiao Ziji entered the 5th stage from the 4th stage of the Meridian Opening Realm, and Yixingchen entered the 9th stage. The increase in realm was secondary. The most important thing was that under the 7 days of training, the two's combat experience had increased. For example, Yixingchen had perfectly adapted to his body during this period of training. Relying on the martial arts experience of his previous life, he could seize the initiative when facing an enemy. However, due to his body's aptitude, his spiritual energy, reaction time, and various factors were limited. If he challenged a high-level vicious beast, he would definitely be abused. As long as I comprehend the 2nd stage of the Taishan Sutra, my spiritual root aptitude can be raised from the low grade to the common grade. Yixingchen secretly said. He was full of hope for his future because he had the Taishan Sutra and the Yi Jing. Bang! Suddenly, the sound of a gunshot rang out, and a flowing light bullet shot out. Yixingchen's pupils suddenly contracted. At that moment, he wanted to dodge, but his body couldn't keep up with his thoughts. Bang! The flowing light bullet flew past his ear, directly exploding the head of the low-level vicious beast pouncing from behind. Plop! Its huge body crashed to the ground, blood flowing out. Yixingchen's forehead oozed a drop of cold sweat. In the 0.1 second just now, he calculated that if he died, would his next rebirth take thousands or tens of thousands of years? Junior brother Yi. Xiao Ziji steadied his body and placed the gun on his shoulder. He smiled and said, "Retrieve the crystal core." Chapter 119. On the 6th day after the Spirit Spring Mountain battle, all the Iron Bone disciples, except for Lu Wancher, had broken through to the 12th stage of the Channel Opening Realm. Sect Master Li Qingyang reported, in the past few days, more disciples have broken through to the Martial Disciple Realm. The number of disciples has reached 19. 19 Martial Disciples and 79 12th stage of the Channel Opening Realm. Very strong. Unfortunately, there was a limit to the number of disciples in the sect. Even if all of them became strong, they would not be able to reach the 7th rate. Jun Changshao muttered, "It's time to open the sect and accept disciples." Once the sect became official, the number of disciples had to increase. Therefore, he went to Qingyang City on the same day and went to the city lord's mansion. "Thank you, city lord." As soon as he entered the hall, Jun Changshao went back to the main topic, "I want to recruit disciples. Can I borrow the signboard?" "No problem," Xie Guangquan said straightforwardly. As a result, the Iron Bone sect's recruitment advertisements appeared on every street bulletin board in every district of Qingyang City. Every recruitment notice was different. East of the city, join the Iron Bone clan and create a dream together. South of the city, gather all the talents in the world and recruit talents. Iron Bone clan, you are trustworthy. North of the city, don't think that you are not a fine horse. In fact, you just lack a talent scout. West of the city, if you want to fly, I will give you a pair of wings. The recruitment announcements of the various sects in the Falling Star continent were either literary or classical. Ironbone's short and unique recruitment announcement immediately attracted a lot of attention. Not only in Qingyang City. Jun Changshao relied on the AI clan's connections and also made recruitment announcements in Huyang City. However, after a few days, the number of martial artists who signed up was very few. Caw, crows flew in the sky and cried out. Jun Changshao, who was sitting in front of the mountain gate, held his chin and collapsed. We have done a lot of big things in this period of time. Why hasn't anyone signed up? Li Qingyang said, Sect Master, our sect has a battle agreement with the Sacred Springs Sect and the Grand Spirit Sect. We are at the heart of the storm. I am afraid that many people are afraid to sign up. That makes sense. Jun Changshao said. Actually, this wasn't a bad idea. At least they could get rid of some hooligans. Those who dared to sign up were definitely not afraid of trouble. They really wanted to join Ironbone. Ta! At this moment, a young man in white walked up the stairs. One of his hands was behind his back, while the other was gently fanning himself. A cool breeze blew away his scattered black hair, revealing a handsome face. When Jun Changshao and Li Qingyang looked over, their first thought was how flirtatious. Shwa! The young man in white closed his folding fan and walked to the front of the registration counter. He said in a gentle and elegant manner, Sect Leader Jun, I have admired the Ironbone clan for a long time, so I came here to be your disciple. The direction of the cupped hands was Li Qingyang. Jun Changshao raised his hand and pushed the second disciple away. Then, he picked up the brush and wrote the words I am the sect leader on a piece of paper. He then slapped the paper on his forehead. Let me ask you, is it clear enough? Seeing this, the young man in white said awkwardly, I'm sorry, I mistook you for someone else. Please don't take offense, Sect Leader Jun, take offense. How is that possible? I can hold a boat in my stomach. Jun Changshao crossed his legs and waved the brush in his fingers. He said in a bad mood, what's your name? Long Xiang, the young man in white said. Jun Changshao was stunned. He pulled the paper off his head and looked at the person carefully. He thought to himself, so polite, he should have received higher education. Also, his surname is Long, so his identity is definitely not simple. After a brief consideration, he took the entry form and asked, gender. Male. Age. Just over 16. Realm. Level 9 Meridian Opening. Jun Changshao did not ask about spirit roots, because as long as he was interested, low grade and supreme grade were meaningless. He directly stamped it. Ding. Sect member, 103500. Ding. Sect contribution points, 302500. Jun Changshao said, Qingyang, take your junior brother to the sect. Arrange a room and give him the school uniform. Oh right, don't forget to give him the sect's mission and rules booklet. Yes. Li Qingyang brought Long Xiang into the sect. Jun Changshao continued to cultivate Yi Jing while waiting. Not long after, a muscular man came up. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, Excuse me, are you still recruiting? Yes, Jun Changshao said. The man walked over and put his hands on the table. He said while panting, I want to join the Ironbone sect. Jun Changshao held his chin and looked at him. He said, Your body looks good, why are you so tired from climbing the mountain? I. The man held his breath. I ran all the way here from Huyang City. Jun Changshao was shocked. The Ironbone sect was hundreds of miles away from Huyang City. To be able to run all the way here in one breath, his body was very strong. Name. Yang Yuhua. Such a muscular man, yet his name was quite elegant. Age. 15 years old. Jun Changshao raised his head and looked at the man's body and head. He then looked at the man's angular face and said in surprise, "You're only 15 years old." Yang Yuhua scratched his head and said, "Others say that I look old." "You're not old, you just look a little rushed." Jun Changshao said, "Stage." Yang Yuhua said softly, "Third stage meridian opening." He was so muscular and could run all the way to the Iron Bone sect in one breath. He was only at the third stage meridian opening. It seemed that his body was developed, but his spirit root was weaker. "Brother, can I join?" Yang Yuhua said weakly. Jun Changshao stamped the sect master's seal and pointed at the door. "Take the form and go in. Someone will arrange everything for you." Ding! Sect members, 104500. Ding! Sect contribution points, 303,500. Yang Yuhua took the form and walked into the sect. He did not forget to turn back and say gratefully, "Thank you, brother." "Kid." Jun Changshao said indifferently, "I'm holding the sect master's seal and you're calling me brother?" Gah! Yang Yuhua stopped in his tracks and turned his head. His expression changed and he quickly cupped his hands. "I'm sorry, brother." "Sect master." "Sect master." More people came to sign up. However, Jun Changshao would first make a judgment based on his intuition and then decide whether to accept them or not. In one day, more than 10 people signed up. Including Long Xiang and Yang Yuhua, only 5 disciples were recruited. The rest were all eliminated. It was not that he did not want to accept them, but that some of them were too weird. For example, the last person was a hunchbacked old man in his 70s or 80s. Sigh. Perhaps Li Qingyang was right. The sect is in the teeth of the storm. There are very few martial artists who dare to sign up. 10 days later. Iron Bone only recruited 46 disciples. Jun Changshao handed the matter over to Li Qingyang. Then, he called Su Xiaoma, Tian Qi and Li Fei to the study room. "In view of your good performance, each of you will be rewarded with a bottle of aptitude-changing liquid." "Aptitude-changing liquid?" Su Xiaoma asked with a puzzled expression. "Sect master, what is this?" "After consuming it, it will allow you to break through one grade from your original spirit roots." Jun Changshao said. He said it very casually, but the 3 of them opened their eyes wide and their mouths wide open. It should be more than enough to stuff 2 eggs. Su Xiaoma's spirit root was of the common grade. His aptitude-changing liquid was suitable for common grade. Tian Qi and Li Fei's were suitable for lower grade. The 3 of them returned to their rooms as if they had found a treasure. They carefully drank the liquid. Not only did their spirit roots improve, their cultivation was also increased. They all broke through to the 2nd grade martial disciple. Too magical. They were happy, but Sect Master Jun spent 150 contribution points. Now, he only had 185 points left. The system said, using the contribution points on them is a bit of a waste. Jun Changshao rolled his eyes and said proudly, "In the Spirit Spring Mountain, I am not afraid of the Sacred Spring sect. I am willing to use contribution points to cultivate such unyielding disciples. What can you do?" Chapter 120. Transforming Su Xiaoma and the other 2 was just the beginning. Jun Changshao left 2 bottles of contribution points for Xiao Ziji and Yixingchen, waiting for them to return. Li Qingyang and Lu Qianqian, because he didn't have the higher quality transformation liquid, he could only temporarily give them qi-gathering pills to help them quickly increase their cultivation. With more than 100 disciples, Jun Changshao couldn't divide them equally. Yes, divide them equally. If you want to be dirty, hurry up and face the wall. He decided on a few main disciples first, hoping that after a year on the Sacred Spring Mountain, they would have a stunning performance and loudly tell the world that the Iron Bone clan was not simple. In fact, Jun Changshao could buy 1 less bottle. Because Yixingchen, who was cultivating in the wild, had comprehended the Taishan Sutra to the 2nd stage, and his spiritual root had entered the mortal grade from the low grade. His realm had also broken through from the 9th stage to the 12th stage, and was only one step away from becoming a martial disciple. Ha ha ha. Sitting cross-legged in the cave, feeling the sublimation of his spiritual root and the improvement of his body, Yi Xingqian unscrupulously laughed out loud. I will strengthen my body and enter the divine grade spiritual root. That will be the day when I return to the peak. He clenched his fists and said with a cold look in his eyes, at that time, I will make the heavens unable to cover my eyes and the earth unable to bury my heart. I will make the so-called Empress of the Eternal Era disappear. Whoosh whoosh. His body emitted a special aura. This was the domineering aura of a former martial emperor. Unfortunately, his soul suffered a setback in his previous life, and he was nurtured in the earth's core for thousands of years. After breaking through the mortal grade spiritual root, only a little of it was revealed. Xiao Ziji, who was awakened by the laughter, said, Junior brother Yi, why are you laughing in the middle of the night? Humph, Yi Xingqian coldly snorted and said, vulgar mortal. Roar. Suddenly, a roar came from outside the cave, and the ground shook. Not good. Xiao Ziji carried the Type 88 sniper rifle and rushed out of the cave. In the distance, a huge black bear stood up, and a thick tree was directly cut in half by the bear's paw. Yi Xingqian walked out, glanced at the big guy, and said disdainfully, trash. Shwa. Xiao Ziji raised his gun and aimed at the black bear's head. Wait. Yi Xingqian raised his hand and stood in front of him. He said coldly, leave it to me. Xiao Ziji said, Junior brother, this is a black demon bear comparable to a peak martial disciple. Roar. The dark demon bear swung its arms and smashed the trees around it. It roared furiously at the two of them, bringing with it a strong wind that brought with it a nauseating stench. Trash. As Yi Xingqian spoke, he took 2 steps back and said, I'm too lazy to do anything. Roar. Just at this moment, the black demon bear dragged its huge body and rushed over. The trees and rocks along the way were either knocked away or smashed into pieces. Boom. Gunshots rang out in the forest. Let's learn to meow together, meow 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 meow. Acting coquettishly in front of you, I-o meow 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 meow. Early morning, martial arts practice field. The magically modified sound system was playing a brand new divine song, and all the disciples of Iron Bone were dancing to the rhythm. Lu Wancher was following the melody of the music. Sometimes she clenched her small fists, put them in front of her cheeks, and sometimes she nodded gently. She looked extremely cute. Seeing the little girl jumping happily, Jun Changshao whispered, Dudu was born in the wrong world. If he was born on Earth, he would definitely be a group of dead fat otakus. Suddenly, he thought of something and said, since there are guns in the mall, are there any rockets or spaceships? Yes. The system said. Jun Changshao was overjoyed. But the system habitually poured cold water on him and said, only high-level malls can refresh, so the host should take back the immature idea of crossing the universe and returning to Earth. Jun Changshao said disapprovingly, as long as there is such a thing, there is a possibility of returning to Earth. The system said, there is spiritual power in the high-level world, and the lifespan of living beings is much higher than that of Earth. Why does the host have to go back? You don't understand. Jun Changshao looked at the distant sky and said longingly, that is my home. My friends are there, and also my first love, and relatives. I don't think I have any relatives. The system said, so the host's purpose of returning to Earth is to bring the high-level world's cultivation to show off? Annoying, you have to expose me. Of course. Jun Changshao said, American movies don't always have some Iron Man, Green Hat and save the world. When I go back, I will call all the people from the Women's Federation over and beat them up one by one. Let's see how awesome they are. The system was speechless, that's just a movie. Not to mention, if these superheroes really exist, then the entire Earth, and even the Milky Way, will be Simidas. This retort. Jun Changshao said, sharp. Oh, right. The system said again, Asian Games Hero League exhibition competition in Jakarta, your country's players defeated the Korean team 3-1 and won the gold medal. As an ex-bronze ranked player in Hero League, Jun Changshao was stunned. The system said, the career of a game player is very short. To be able to make the host country's flag fly in the competition once every 4 years, this is worthy of respect. Schwa! Jun Changshao tore off his long shirt and rushed into the training field. He followed the disciples and danced to the beat. He was as happy as a 5 or 6-year-old child. Babies, let's get high. My heart is thumping, I am infatuated with your evil smile. If you don't say you love me, I will meow meow meow. After the morning exercise, the disciples went back to their own training. Long Xiang, Yang Yuhua, and the other disciples who had just entered the sect had ugly expressions. It was obvious that they had not gotten used to the shameful morning exercise. I was actually dancing just now, I was actually twisting just now. Xiang, Yuhua. Su Xiaomao waved his hand and smiled, come come, senior brother will bring you to training. Oh. Long Xiang, Yang Yuhua, and the other new disciples followed and entered the training room. One by one, they entered the muscle building room and went through 2 hours of building. At night, this group of new disciples was paralyzed on the training field. The next day, after they regained their energy, they began to learn how to play football. In the end, after Li Fei used his face to catch the ball, they squatted in a corner like children and covered their faces as they wailed. Mom! There are too many bad people in the sect, I want to go home. Go home. That did not exist. The moment they stepped into the Iron Bonjing sect, they were destined to either become stronger in a mountain of blades and a sea of flames or sing in the abyss of hell. After the new disciples entered the sect, everyone received a copy of the tendon-changing scripture and the muscle-building pill and began to learn how to integrate into the life of the sect. Jun Changshao then began to think about how to quickly increase his contribution points. The fastest way to earn contribution points was to recruit all the disciples. This way, he could obtain 352 contribution points and also activate the sect mission. However, it was not easy to recruit. Li Qingyang sat outside for 2 days and did not see anyone. My head hurts. Jun Changshao rubbed his temples. Sect leader. Elder Wei walked into the main hall and said, the planted herbs have sprouted. So fast? Jun Changshao was rather surprised. Calculating the time, it had only been slightly more than 10 days. Elder Wei said, herbs are not like crops. If you cultivate them diligently, they will feel it and express their gratitude by growing quickly. So mysterious. Jun Changshao said with interest, Elder Wei, you are not simple. Is it convenient for you to tell me your story? Elder Wei laughed self-deprecatingly and said, I am only a 3rd-grade apothecary. I have done nothing for most of my life. What story can I have? Jun Changshao said, Elder Wei is very professional in cultivating herbs. Only a 3rd-grade apothecary? I will never believe it. Elder Wei did not want to talk about this topic and said, I need a few disciples to go to the mountains to fetch spring water to water the herbs. Everyone had their own secrets. If he did not say, Jun Changshao would not force him. He immediately arranged for Long Xiang, Yang Yuhua, and the other new disciples to help Elder Wei fetch water from the mountains. Sect leader. At this moment, Li Qingyang hurriedly walked in from outside. With a serious expression, he said, Star Cloud Sect elder brought disciples to spar. Star Cloud Sect? Jun Changshao had never heard of it. Li Qingyang said, one of the 4 7th-rate sects in Qingyang County. The sect leader is called Meng Xingde. The one who brought disciples to spar is the 7th elder. Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, this 7th-rate Star Cloud sect should be a member of the 100 Sect Alliance? That's right. Li Qingyang said. Chapter 121. The 100 Sect Alliance's Nebula sect came to find him to spar. Even a fool could see that they had some dirty dealings with Alliance leader Qin. Alliance Leader Qin. Jun Changshao rubbed his fingers and laughed, we have a battle agreement. It's not convenient for you to make a move, so you send other sects to stir up trouble. Very particular, very particular. Ding! Side mission activated. The system notification sounded. Damn! Finally, a mission came. Jun Changshao hurriedly opened the data panel. The side mission was, Defeat Nebula Sect 7th Elder Song Kai 0 of 1, Elite Mission. There was a second mission. The mission was, Disciple Beat Up Nebula Sect's Disciple 0/5. It was fine if he didn't come, but when he came, he got 2. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Jun Changshao waved his sleeves and stood up confidently, quickly, invite the Nebula Sect's elder in. Yes. Li Qingyang turned and left. He was puzzled, sect leader looks very happy. He lacked contribution points, but someone sent him 2 missions. Of course, sect leader Jun was happy. He couldn't wait to turn on the stereo and start dancing. Martial Arts Arena. The Iron Bone disciples stopped cultivating and stood behind the sect leader. Jun Changshao sat on a chair with one leg propped up. He couldn't stop the smile from appearing on his face. Opposite. The Nebula Sect's elder stood proudly with his hands behind his back. Behind him stood 5 disciples. From their aura, they were definitely martial disciples and their ranks weren't low. In Jun Changshao's eyes, contribution points were floating above these people's heads. The system said, 5 disciples. From left to right, 5th grade, 4th grade, 4th grade, 3rd grade, and 2nd grade martial disciples. TSK. Jun Changshao thought, worthy of being a 7th-rate sect. Their disciples are awesome. Sect leader Jun Song Kai cupped his hands and said, your sect's disciples took the top 4 spots in the Great Sect competition. My Nebula Sect admires you. Today, I brought my disciples here to learn from you. The Nebula Sect also participated in the Great Sect competition. However, they sent their outer sect disciples. Their cultivation wasn't high and they were eliminated in the last few rounds. It wasn't that they didn't want to send high-ranking disciples, but there was a clear rule in the intersect tournament. A disciple could only participate once, and they had to be under the age of 18. Jun Changshao said, making friends through martial arts, exchanging pointers and discussing the Tao. Why aren't you welcoming them? Paw! 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 All the disciples applauded in unison to welcome him. The corner of Song Kai's mouth twitched. Very quickly, he said seriously, this song has brought 5 inner sect disciples from my Nebula sect. I hope to have 5 one-on-one matches with your sect's disciples. What do you think, Sect Master Jun? Did this guy think that only Li Qingyang was stronger than Iron Bone, so he deliberately chose to have more people fight more battles? Jun Changshao said, sure. Qingyang. He waved his hand and said, go and spar with the guests who came from afar. Yes. Li Qingyang took a step forward, only to hear the sect leader whisper, give him a good beating, beat him until he cries for his father and mother. The side mission was to beat the Nebula Sect's disciples. If it was easy to defeat them, then it definitely wouldn't meet the requirements. Li Qingyang nodded and walked to the center of the martial arts practice field. Song Kai also sent out a disciple, who was the weakest of the 5, a 2nd-grade martial disciple. Jun Changshao disdainfully said, my Huaxia ancestors played a leftover trick, and they still have the face to show it. Pa! With a snap of his fingers, a disciple came in with tea. Li Qingyang. Jia Tengying. Pft! Jun Changshao spat out a mouthful of tea. Both sides reported their names, and the battle began. Shua! Jia Tengying took the initiative and rushed forward. 2 fingers condensed spiritual light, and with a shwa 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 sound, she stabbed out. This was a middle-grade mortal martial art, quick shadow finger. From the speed and the appearance of the finger shadows, it showed that this person had been immersed in this technique for a long time, otherwise it would be impossible to reach such a level. Li Qingyang put his hands behind his back and moved rhythmically, dodging the finger shadows. He defeated Mo Shangfei of the Sacred Spring Sect. Against a second-grade martial disciple, it could only be described as easy. Even if he kept stabbing until the sky turned dark, he might not even be able to touch the corner of his clothes. Jia Tengying knew that there was a big gap between her and her opponent, but as a martial artist, how could she admit defeat? She continued to use the quick shadow finger to poke wildly. Suddenly, Li Qingyang, who was dodging, grabbed her wrist with one hand and lightly pushed her away with his shoulder. Jia Tengying, who had retreated more than 10 steps, had not yet stabilized her body when a hand grabbed her collar and lifted her up forcefully. Plop! She flew 160 degrees and fell to the ground. Then, she flew 160 degrees in the opposite direction and fell to the ground again. Bang! 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 Li Qingyang, who was standing on the martial arts practice field, had one hand behind his back and the other hand grabbed Jia Tengying's collar and threw her left and right. After a while, she was dizzy from being thrown around. Her mouth and eyes were crooked. Ding! Disciple brutally thrashing Star Cloud Sect Disciple 15. Li Qingyang's bullying met the requirement of brutality. One mission completed. Qingyang, sparring and discussing Dao, that's enough. Jun Changshao said. Li Qingyang dragged Jia Tengying, who was foaming at the mouth, to the edge of the martial arts practice field and threw her out. Second senior brother won. The disciples immediately cheered. When the new disciples saw a martial disciple being brutally thrashed, they immediately worshipped their second senior brother. Humph! Song Kai snorted coldly. His disciple's defeat was within his expectations. Li Qingyang had already fought, so the Iron Bones sect did not have any outstanding disciples. For the next 4 rounds, the Star Cloud sect would control the entire field. Indeed, they controlled the entire field. This was because the second disciple who went up was kicked all over the martial arts practice field by Li Fei. Every stone under his feet experienced the fear of being controlled by Li Fei's feet. In the end, he ran until he was exhausted. His nose was bruised and his face was swollen. Ding! Disciple thrashed Star Cloud Sect Disciple 25. After hearing the notification, Jun Changshao spread out his hands and said, "Sorry, my disciple was a little heavy-handed." Song Kai's old face fell. That Iron Bone sect disciple was clearly only a second-grade martial disciple. How could he thrash his own third-grade martial disciple so miserably? If he knew that this was a man who had even kicked the sect leader down, he would understand. The problem was not big. There were not many disciples who had the ability to fight above their level. As long as they won the next 3 rounds, it would be fine. Thinking of this, Song Kai raised his hand. The 4th-grade martial disciple walked up to the martial arts practice field. Jun Changshao originally planned to let Tian Qi or Su Xiaoma fight, but before he could open his mouth, he saw 2 people appear at the gate. Who? Xiao Ziji and Yi Xingchen. Their hair was disheveled and their faces were dirty. Their school uniforms were torn in strips. It was obvious that they were scratched by the claws of fierce beasts. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched and said, "When you went out, you had an imposing appearance. How did you come back as refugees?" "Sect leader, we're back." Xiao Ziji grinned, revealing a row of neat white teeth. "Just in time." Jun Changshao waved his hand and said, "Star Cloud Sect has come to exchange pointers. You'll be the 3rd opponent, right?" "Ah." Xiao Ziji was dumbfounded. He and Yi Xingchen went deep into the mountain forest. In the end, they were chased by a group of fierce beasts. In the end, they risked their lives to escape. Then, they returned to the sect. Without resting, they fought with others. This was too exciting. Chapter 122. Xiao Ziji had just returned and was already assigned to fight. This made him feel very excited. Yi Xingchen was not interested at all and was about to take a bath. "Xingchen." Jun Changshao shouted, "You will fight in the 4th round. Let me see how much your strength has improved after this wilderness training." "Damn it! You want me to fight with a little brat?" Although he was unwilling, he still stopped and looked at the Star Cloud Sect disciple. His gaze was filled with the strong disdain of a martial emperor. Song Kai glanced at the two and said lightly, "Sect leader Jun, your 2 disciples look very tired. Isn't it a little too casual to send them?" "It's very casual," Jun Changshao said. This tone, this meaning. It was as if he did not take the Star Cloud Sect seriously at all. "You." Song Kai suppressed his anger and said lightly, "If Sect leader Jun doesn't feel that the Star Cloud Sect is bullying you, you can send them to fight." This must be what he wanted. Xiao Ziji did not even change his school uniform. He dragged his dirty body and stood on the training field. He cupped his hands and said, "Xiao Ziji." The Star Cloud Sect disciple looked at him and said, "So you are the champion of the intersect tournament." Then, he cupped his hands in disdain and said, "Zhang Yi." In his opinion, this guy who did not open his meridians was very lucky to win the championship. If he participated, he would definitely beat him to a pulp. Not to mention, in the intersect tournament, with Xiao Ziji's strength, facing a rank 4 martial disciple would be a tragedy. But now, bang! 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 After the fight began, the Star Cloud Sect disciple called Zhang Yi was beaten by Xiao Ziji's strong body and strength. He was spinning around in the training field dizzily. At this time, if the sound system was turned on, it would be very appropriate with a cat meowing song. Plop! Zhang Yi spun around for a while and fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth. As for the arrogant and disdainful expression just now, it was destined to be replaced by a dead fish face for a long time because of the beating. Ding! Disciple beat Star Cloud Sect disciple 35. Not bad, not bad. Jun Changshao said with satisfaction, after this experience, the improvement is very obvious. After dealing with his opponent, Xiao Ziji walked out of the training grounds and said, "Sect leader, I'm going to take a bath." Go, go, Jun Changshao said. Song Kai was dumbfounded. The disciple participating in the battle was a 4th grade martial disciple. From the aura of the Iron Bone disciple, it seemed that he was only at the 6th stage of the channel opening realm. Xiao Ziji's cultivation was weak. However, ever since he opened his meridians, he was able to gather spirit energy in his body. Coupled with his highly tempered body, his combat strength had definitely skyrocketed. 4th grade martial disciple. Sorry, it's just a punching bag. They had lost 3 out of 5 matches. This time, the Nebula Sect, which was ordered by Alliance Master Qin to challenge the Sect, had lost their face in front of Iron Bone. Jun Changshao said, "Elder Song, do you still want to spar?" "Spar?" Song Kai said solemnly. They had already lost, but if they could win the next 2 matches and make it 2-3, they could at least regain some face. "Xingqian, go on stage," Jun Changshao said. Yi Xingqian snorted coldly and walked onto the training grounds. He pointed at the 5th grade martial disciple who was supposed to be the last to fight and said disdainfully, "You, get up here." He directly chose the strongest. Brother Chen was very social. The Nebula Sect disciple who was pointed at glanced at Song Kai and walked onto the training grounds after receiving instructions. He looked at Yi Xingqian with a strong sense of disdain. He was the strongest among the 5 disciples brought by Song Kai. To be able to break through to the 5th grade martial disciple before the age of 20, he indeed had the qualifications to look down on others. However, he looked down on Su Xiaoma and Tian Qi. It was not a problem. However, the person he looked down on was one of the 10 great martial emperors, the Night Emperor. This was a big problem. Yi Xingqian, who was not interested in the battle between brats, saw the contempt and disdain in his eyes. His entire face immediately darkened. He clenched his fists and said coldly, "Kid, I will make you suffer." Pang! The Nebula Sect disciple bent his arms and clenched his fists. A wave of chi burst out and instantly tore his shirt, revealing a gaudy tattoo. It could be said that he was incomparably fierce. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "You didn't tear your pants." "Bad." "Untatted Peppa Pig." "Bad." "Tsk," Yi Xingchen was disdainful. Song Kai said indifferently, "Sect leader Jun, this disciple of mine is proficient in 32 saber techniques. I wonder if we can use weapons in the battle?" "Yes," Jun Changshao said. Yi Xingchen's mouth twitched. Facing a 5th grade martial disciple with a weapon, this should at least give me a weapon to fight, right? Unfortunately, Jun Changshao did not intend to give him a weapon. Instead, he clasped his fingers and said, "This disciple of mine is proficient in 72 grappling techniques. He has always fought with his bare hands." Yi Xingchen's expression suddenly became interesting. The Nebula Sect disciple waved his hand and summoned his treasured saber from his spatial ring. The saber was not long and was similar to a watermelon knife. However, the blade shone brightly. It looked very sharp. Lu Kunlong. He reported his name. Yi Xingchen did not report his name. Instead, he was thinking about how he should deal with a 5th grade martial disciple with a weapon with his bare hands. Shwa! 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 At this moment, Lu Kunlong waved his saber. The saber shadows surrounded his body. Then, he raised his saber with one hand and stood in a golden rooster stance. He was indeed proficient in 32 saber techniques. What a professional! Good! Jun Changshao clapped his hands. Clap clap clap. The disciples behind him also clapped as if they were watching that guy perform a saber show. Lu Kunlong said indifferently, "If you don't report your name, then I will use my saber." Trash. Yi Xingchen said indifferently. Shwa. At this moment, Lu Kunlong took a step forward and waved his saber crazily. In an instant, dense saber shadows were intertwined. It looked very scary. Yi Xingchen retreated step by step, avoiding the saber intent that swept towards him. At the same time, he was looking for his opponent's weakness. The improvement of his spiritual root and his cultivation level reaching stage 12 made him more compatible with his body. Not only could he catch the saber's shadows, but he could also dodge them in advance. However, once the opponent's 32 saber techniques were used, not only did it form an attack, but it also protected his body. It was difficult to find a weakness to counterattack. Shwa! Shwa! Lu Kunlong's saber momentum increased and more saber shadows appeared. Yi Xingchen realized that if he could not finish him off in the shortest time possible, once he was surrounded by an inescapable net of attacks, he could only be attacked passively. Damn it! A mere 5th grade martial disciple was enough to make this emperor feel helpless. Yi Xingchen's anger rose. The little bit of domineering aura that he had just recovered burst out instantly. Huff huff. The aura spread out invisibly. Lu Kunlong, who was using his saber technique, was enveloped by the aura. He suddenly stopped, his eyes filled with fear. At that moment, his soul seemed to have fallen into hell. His heart suffered endless torment. His hand went limp and the saber he was holding fell to the ground with a clang. This kind of terrifying aura that came from a martial emperor's oppression disappeared in a flash. When Lu Kunlong regained his senses and realized that the saber had fallen, he saw that Yi Xingchen had already raised his waist, holding the saber in his hand. Brat! Knight Emperor said coldly, "You can't even hold a saber, and you dare to use your saber technique in front of me?" Shwa! As he spoke, he swung his saber. Puchi, a deep saber mark appeared on Lu Kunlong's chest. Blood gushed out. You! His face became ferocious. Yi Xingchen stepped forward and said coldly, "Today, I will let you know that sabers are used to cut people, not for juggling." Shwa! The saber slashed down again. Blood splattered. Another saber mark appeared on Lu Kunlong's chest. He endured the pain and hurriedly turned around to run. Yi Xingchen chased after him with large strides. He raised his saber and slashed down. Poochie. Poochie. 1 slash, 2 slashes, 3 slashes, poor Lu Kunlong. His equipment was picked up by Yi Xingchen and counterattacked. In the end, he lay on the ground covered in blood. Chapter 123. If it had been someone else, Lu Kunlong would not have been knocked to the ground. At most, he would have been beaten up. However, his opponent was Yi Xingchen. Who was he? One of the 10 great martial emperors. Not only had he killed people in his past life, but he had also killed many people. When his bones were piled up, they could form a mountain. He was definitely a ruthless character who killed without batting an eye. Thinking about how he had been chased by a group of vicious beasts and was now being looked down upon by a junior, Yi Xingchen's anger turned into killing intent. He raised his saber and slashed down again. Xingchen. Jun Changshao stopped him. It's just a spar. There's no need to kill. Yi Xingchen stopped slashing and threw the saber on the ground. He snorted. Sect leader, don't let me fight trash like this in the future. It's a waste of time. After saying that, he turned around and went to take a bath. He can actually counterattack a rank 5 martial disciple. Junior brother Yi is too awesome. The disciples exclaimed. Su Xiaoma was surprised. Junior brother Yi has grown so fast. If it were him, he could use his speed to fight against Lu Kunlong, but he definitely couldn't use his sword to counterattack like Yi Xingchen. Jun Changshao held his chin and said, there seemed to be a wave of qi just now. Because of the distance, he caught a glimpse of Yi Xingchen's domineering aura. Although it disappeared in a flash, it was terrifying. The system said, this is spiritual force. Spiritual force? When a martial artist's soul energy is strong, they can form spiritual force to intimidate others. Jun Changshao said, you mean, Xingchen's spiritual force shocked Lu Kunlong's mind. That's why his saber fell. That's right. The system said. Looking at the receding figure, Jun Changshao said to himself, this disciple of mine is not simple. Not just a little. The system said. Lu Kunlong could have exchanged blows with Yi Xingchen. However, his mind was disturbed by Xingchen's domineering aura and he ended up being slashed to the ground. It was not that he was not strong, but that his opponent was too evil. Song Kai, who was standing at the back, retracted his condensed spiritual energy. Anger appeared in his eyes. If Yi Xingchen had dared to slash down, he would have attacked regardless of the consequences. After all, Lu Kunlong was the most valued inner disciple of the Nebula Sect. Jun Changshao said, Elder Song, your Star Cloud sect has lost 4 rounds. Is there a need to continue? These words were very hurtful, causing Song Kai's heart to ache. He said solemnly, continue. If he stopped now, the score would be 4-0. However, if he insisted on continuing, the score would be 5-0. Because the next contestant was Lu Chanshan. This cold beauty of few words released a tsunami-like spiritual power as soon as she entered the arena, directly scaring the Nebula Sect disciple to the ground. Bang! Bang! His spiritual energy transformed into small fists and pounded on that guy's chest. In the end, he spat out a mouthful of blood and passed out gloriously. The Iron Bone disciples' mouths twitched. It turned out that our beautiful senior sister was even fiercer than Yi Xingchen when she fought. Long Xiang, Yang Yuhua, and the other new disciples secretly said, senior sister is the most ferocious person in the sect. Don't provoke her. Ding! Disciple thrashed Nebula Sect Disciple 55. Ding! Side mission completed. Host received 50 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 230500. Comfortable. Jun Changshao stood up and smiled. Elder Song, thank you for letting me win. Song Kai's entire face darkened. When he came, he promised Qin Haran that he would definitely be able to kill the Iron Bone disciples. In the end, he lost all 5 rounds and was shaved bald. If this news were to spread, it would definitely be embarrassing. Elder Song. Jun Changshao said again, I see that you don't look good. You seem to be unconvinced by your loss. How about this, you and I have a spar? Song Kai's expression suddenly froze. He couldn't bear the loss of his disciples. He was still thinking about whether to spar with that guy. He didn't expect the other party to take the initiative to speak. Very good, very good. Song Kai cupped his hands and said, since sect leader Jun has said so, I will respectfully accept. As he spoke, he walked to the center of the training field and fed Lu Kunlong a healing pill. Then, he dragged him down. Jun Changshao walked over and thought, how much strength does this guy have? About 30,000. The system said. Only 30,000? Jun Changshao disdained. Although he was only an 8th grade martial disciple, his strength had long exceeded 20,000. The system said, this elder's aptitude is average. He is only an ordinary 1st grade martial master. The host has undergone physique transformation and muscle molding. Naturally, he is not an ordinary person. Oh, that's true. Jun Changshao said. It wasn't just him. Disciples who cultivated the body metamorphosis scripture, took the body molding pill, and went through the tempering of the body molding room all had combat power far stronger than ordinary people. When they cultivated their spiritual roots and cultivation, their strength. Just thinking about it made people's blood boil. The sect leader is about to make a move. When Jun Changshao stood in the middle of the training field, the Iron Bone disciples immediately began to discuss. After all, the last time the sect leader made a move was when he tortured Ma Yongning. The Star Cloud sect's elder is a martial master. Can the sect leader win? A new disciple whispered. Nonsense, he can definitely win. The early disciples had 100% unconditional trust in Jun Changshao. The sect leader will win, the sect leader will win. Lu Wanshe raised her small fist and shouted. For a moment the Iron Bone disciples were motivated and shouted in unison, cheering for the sect leader. Humph! Song Kai lightly snorted, but on the surface, he cupped his hands and said gracefully, Sect leader Jun, shall we compete with weapons or fists? Fists. Jun Changshao said. Song Kai said, all right. As he spoke, thick spiritual energy condensed in his palms. His aura was quite good. In the Falling Star continent, martial disciples were also known as the spirit condensation stage. It meant that they condensed spiritual energy and opened up a cyclone in their dantian. Martial masters were known as the spirit manipulation stage because martial artists who reached this stage were more proficient in the absorption of spiritual energy and the use of spiritual energy. Although Song Kai was very mediocre in all aspects, he was still a genuine martial master. The spiritual energy in his palms was 2 streets ahead of a martial disciple. Kid. When the battle begins, I will defeat you in front of your disciples as quickly as possible to save the face of my Star Cloud sect. Song Kai said, Sect leader Jun, can we start? We can start. Jun Changshao said. Swish. Song Kai strode over and clenched his right hand into a fist. The spiritual energy in the cyclone instantly poured into it, and a visible wave of air suddenly appeared. It was quite urgent. Jun Changshao smiled faintly, raised his right palm and cut through the void, and said, I slash. Xiao, a crescent-shaped stream of light burst out. Song Kai raised his eyebrows. His right fist blasted out with a strong wind and violently broke it on the spot. His eyes were filled with strong disdain. However, when he looked at Jun Changshao, he saw that the guy's left and right hands seemed to have turned into 2 kitchen knives. He kept chopping as if he was chopping dumplings. I slash, I slash, I slash, I slash, I slash, I slash. Shio 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 shio. In an instant, dozens of streaks of light shot out from different angles. This. Li Qingyang's mouth twitched. It was a little scary that the sect leader used I slash to such an extent. Of course, Song Kai, who was a little disdainful at first, saw the dense streams of light rushing from all angles. His expression suddenly became interesting. Dodge! 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 This was the thought in his heart, but he couldn't dodge at all. He could only condense his spiritual energy in a hurry and constantly bombard the incoming streams of light. Bang! 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 Song Kai was still quite strong. He broke all the incoming streams of light. I slash, I slash, I slash, I slash, slash, slash. Sect leader Jun stood in the same place. He twisted his butt as if he was cheating and continuously waved his hand. The crescent-shaped streams of light flew out with a shio sound. Facing this kind of endless bombardment, Elder Song, who was a martial master, could only passively defend. However, there were too many of them. In the end, he couldn't keep up with the speed of the attacks. He could only use his body parts to block them. Boom! 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 5 minutes later. Jun Changshao stood in the martial arts arena, panting. Although the consumption of I slash wasn't high, it couldn't be used so recklessly. Therefore, the energy of the cyclone in his dantian had been consumed by 70 to 80%. Song Kai stood outside the martial arts arena with trembling legs. In the end, he couldn't support his body and sat on the ground. Ding! Defeat the 7th Elder of the Star Cloud Sect, Song Kai, 1 point, Elite Mission. Ding! Side mission completed. Host receives 100 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 330500. Li Qingyang and the other disciples looked at the sect leader with admiration. There was only one thought in their minds: awesome. Chapter 124. Song Kai was defeated before he could even get close to Jun Changshao. This was undoubtedly a tragedy. It wasn't that he wasn't strong, it was that Jun Changshao was cheating. The self-slash was modified by a mysterious almighty and consumed very little energy. If it were any other martial master, they wouldn't be able to withstand it. Of course. Due to the realm, it was difficult to perfectly display the power of the self-slash. It only made Song Kai's body sore and consumed a lot of spiritual energy. If Jun Changshao was a martial master, Elder Song wouldn't have collapsed to the ground. Instead, he would have been a corpse lying on the ground. In any case, an 8th-grade martial disciple defeating a martial master was already powerful enough. If it was a martial technique from the Falling Star continent, unless it was of high quality, it would be extremely difficult to achieve this. Sect leader is mighty. Sect leader is mighty. After being stunned for a moment, the disciples cheered excitedly. When the new disciples saw the sect leader defeating a martial master with the cultivation of a martial disciple, they immediately prostrated themselves in worship. Elder Song. Jun Changshao cupped his fists and said, "Thank you for letting me win." After completing 2 side missions and obtaining 150 contribution points, he was in a good mood. Song Kai endured the pain and stood up. His weak face was filled with anger. The energy streams were obviously not very powerful, but there were too many of them, causing him to be unable to deal with them. He was really unwilling to accept this. Jun Changshao said, "Elder Song, if you are not convinced, you can choose another day to spar with my sect. I welcome you at any time." Song Kai snorted coldly and cupped his fists. "Goodbye." After saying that, he left with the injured disciples in disgrace. Originally, they were ordered by Alliance Master Qin to deliberately cause trouble at the Iron Bone sect. In the end, they were defeated 6-0, embarrassing themselves to the extreme. Clean up the martial arts practice field and continue to cultivate. Jun Changshao said. Yes. The disciples hurriedly fetched water to wash away the bloodstains on the martial arts practice field. Then, they cleaned it up and cultivated as usual. Senior Brother Su, the sect leader is really strong. Of course. Was what the sect leader used just now a spiritual martial technique? Of course. Senior brother Su, can we learn it? As long as you break through to martial disciple, you can cultivate unconditionally. The new disciple's eyes burned with passion, and his desire to become stronger became even more resolute. Long Xiang, who was sitting to the side, thought to himself, this iron bone was indeed the right choice. I also need to break through to martial disciple as soon as possible. He had joined the Iron Bone Club not because he had seen the advertisement, but because he had heard about how Li Qingyang had defeated Mo Shangfei using a spiritual force martial skill on Spirit Spring Mountain. To be exact, he had come for me. Long Xiang secretly praised his decision to join the Iron Bones sect after witnessing the sect leader's display of power as a martial disciple and exhausting a martial master. Wait until I practice this unfathomable martial skill. When I return to the clan, I will definitely shock all of you. Boom! Li Fei waved his hand and said, Junior brother Long, why are you in a daze? Come and play with us. Mom! It's too scary. I want to go home now. Yi Xingqian and Xiao Ziji took a shower and changed into a clean set of school uniforms. They were called to the study by Jun Changshao. Not bad, not bad. Sect Master Jun crossed his legs and placed them on the desk. You didn't disappoint me during this training. Seeing him like this, Yi Xingqian wanted to rush up and press his head on the table, then raise his fist and beat him up. Sect leader. Xiao Ziji said, this disciple obtained a lot of crystal nuclei in the wild. Is that so? Jun Changshao said. Xiao Ziji waved his hand, and the crystal nuclei in the interspatial ring appeared on the ground. There were quite a few of them, about 40 to 50. Among them, some were personally killed by him, and some were shot by the Type 88 sniper rifle. The highest was a peak vicious beast, and the lowest was a low second grade. So many. Jun Changshao was surprised. He chose a few suitable crystal nuclei to make bullets for Xiao Ziji and took the rest. Crystal nuclei had many uses, so he could keep them for now. Idiot! Yi Xingqian secretly said. So many crystal nuclei to sell and exchange for martial arts resources, wouldn't that be perfect? Why did he have to foolishly pay? Sect leader. Xiao Ziji said honestly, junior brother Yi also has a few crystal nuclei. Yi Xingqian's mouth twitched, and there were tens of thousands of grass mud horses running wildly in his heart. Jun Changshao looked over with a smile. Can you keep one? No. Yi Xingqian reluctantly took out a few crystal nuclei from his chest and put them on the table. Jun Changshao rolled his eyes and said, don't you feel uncomfortable putting this stone-like thing in your chest? Yi Xingqian was silent. Yes, it was a little uncomfortable. Here. Jun Changshao threw an interspatial ring and said, this is an interspatial ring, it can hold things. Damn it. This guy thinks that I haven't even heard of an interspatial ring. At that moment, the prideful Night Emperor couldn't wait to throw the interspatial ring on the ground and step on it. There are 5 meridian opening pills, 5 chi gathering pills, and 1 chi revolving pill in the ring. The chi revolving pill can quickly condense a chi revolving pill and break through to the martial disciple level. Jun Changshao said. Yi Xingqian put it on his middle finger and thought, the size is just right. Sinji, Xingqian. Jun Changshao said, I have divided the inner and outer sect. The 2 of you are inner sect disciples, so work hard and don't let me down. He took out a bottle of aptitude-changing liquid and threw it to Xiao Ziji, saying, this is an aptitude-changing liquid suitable for mortal spiritual roots. Take it and consume it. Xiao Ziji hurriedly caught it, and a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. He, who had consumed the aptitude-changing liquid before, naturally knew how heaven-defying this thing was. Aptitude-changing liquid? Yi Xingqian said blankly, what is this? Jun Changshao said, it's a type of liquid that can immediately increase the quality of your spiritual roots after consumption. Yi Xingqian's expression suddenly became sluggish. It can change the quality of spiritual roots, and immediately. That was nonsense, wasn't it? As a former martial emperor, he had never heard of a medicine that could change spiritual roots in the falling star continent. There was none in this world, but there was one in the system store. Gulp. At that moment, Xiao Ziji anxiously opened the bottle and swallowed the liquid. Huff huff. In just a moment, white smoke rose from his body, and then his temperament changed. Yi Xingqian's eyes widened. He could feel that not only did Xiao Ziji's temperament change, but his cultivation level also seemed to have increased. And this happened in the blink of an eye. Oh my God! Is there really such a heaven-defying medicine in this world? Jun Changshao said, Xingqian, you have a low-grade spiritual root. I have a bottle that is suitable for low-grade spiritual roots. Wait. Yi Xingqian raised his hand and said, Sect Master, let me calm down first. Huff. He patted his face, rubbed his eyes, and looked at Xiao Ziji again. After confirming that this guy's temperament had changed greatly, he said seriously, Sect Master, it's suitable for low-grade spiritual roots, so it's only effective for low-grade spiritual roots? That's right. Jun Changshao said, low-grade spiritual roots can break through to the mortal grade, and mortal-grade spiritual roots can be upgraded to the medium grade. Your senior brother Xiao used the mortal-grade spiritual root, and now he has a medium-grade spiritual root. Yi Xingqian hurriedly said, Sect Master, I actually have a mortal-grade spiritual root. When I filled in the sect application form, I deliberately hid it. You have a mortal-grade spiritual root? Jun Changshao was surprised. Yes. Yi Xingqian said. At this time, he could not hide it. After all, he could give a mortal-grade spiritual root. If he gave a low-grade spiritual root, it would be useless. Jun Changshao thought to himself, since this guy has a mortal-grade spiritual root, I can save a bottle of aptitude-changing liquid. Chapter 125. Yi Xingqian originally planned to hide his spirit root. After all, the Taishan Sutra was one of the two biggest secrets in his heart. The other secret was his rebirth. However, he had no choice but to tell the truth. If he was only given one bottle and a low-grade one, he would not be able to improve his spirit root. The higher the comprehension of the Taishan Sutra, the stronger the spirit root. However, it would take time. Yi Xingqian wanted to improve his spirit root as soon as possible. Jun Changshao thought, since you have a mortal-grade spirit root, I will save 50 points to buy a low-grade one. Here, take it. He threw the mortal-grade aptitude-modifying liquid over. Yi Xingqian caught it and asked cautiously, Sect leader, will there be any side effects after taking this medicine? That was a very professional question. In the Falling Star continent, there were pills that could forcibly improve one's cultivation. Although one could break through after taking it, one could only rely on pills in the future. Until one reached a certain level, it would be difficult to improve one's cultivation level without stronger pills. Jun Changshao said, if you're worried, you don't have to take it. Yi Xingqian did not say anything else. He walked out of the study and returned to his residence. Then, he closed the door and looked down at the aptitude-modifying liquid in his hand. He was considering whether to take it or not. Yi Xingqian. Back then, you went through a lot for the Taishan Sutra. Now, you're still thinking about the medicine to improve your aptitude? Smack. He opened the bottle and drank it. Whoosh! Whoosh! After the liquid entered his body, his meridians, blood, muscles, and even every inch of his skin transformed. His spirit root also entered the medium grade from the mortal grade in an instant. Because it was stage 12 meridian opening, there was no cyclone. It only improved his aptitude, but it did not increase his cultivation level. Yi Xingqian said in shock, unbelievable. The Taishan Sutra could improve one's aptitude because it was a supreme cultivation technique that surpassed the divine grade. A bottle of medicine could do it easily. It was completely beyond his knowledge of medicine. Could it be a celestial medicine from the upper realm? Yi Xingqian guessed. The upper realm was a higher existence than the Falling Star continent. Only martial emperors and those who had broken through the void were qualified to go there. That was an even more vast world. Even he, who had once dominated the continent, would be as insignificant as an ant in that world. But that didn't stop Yixingchen from longing for it, because it was said that the secret of immortality could be found there. The lifespan of the creatures in the world of martial arts was very long, but there would be a day when they would burn out. Therefore, having an unlimited lifespan was the lifelong pursuit of the strong. Yixingchen said with a solemn expression, "If it's an immortal medicine from the upper realm, then this Jun Changshao must be extraordinary to be able to give it to his disciple so casually." He had never taken the sect leader seriously, but after consuming the aptitude-altering elixir, there was a slight change in his mentality. Coincidentally, Jun Changshao was also trying to figure him out in the room. He thought to himself, he hid the fact that he has a mortal-grade spiritual root. Do you really think I, the sect leader, am a fool? Yuan Fong, what do you think? The system pondered for a moment before saying, to be able to upgrade a low-grade spiritual root to a common grade in such a short time, there must be something fishy about this. Isn't that obvious? Jun Changshao said. The system said, according to my research on the falling star continent, there is no way to forcefully upgrade a spiritual root in this world, unless what? A mental cultivation method above the divine grade. Isn't the divine grade the highest? Jun Changshao was surprised. The system said, there are many types of martial arts in the falling star continent. After countless years, they have been divided into different grades by the later generations. However, there are some rare martial arts that are not included in this list. For example? Jun Changshao asked. The system said, tens of thousands of years ago, a peerless expert appeared in the falling star continent. He called himself the Old Man of Taishan. He created two mental cultivation methods that were known as peerless treasures. One of them was the Taishan Ice Heart Technique, and the other was the Taishan Sutra. The names sound awesome, Jun Changshao said. The system said, 10,000 years ago, a fortuitous person obtained one of the fragments of the Supreme Profound Ice Heart Incantation. Later, he cultivated it to great perfection and advanced to Martial Emperor. Then, he established the Supreme Profound Holy Sect. Even now, it is still a first-rate sect. Jun Changshao was surprised, he created a first-rate sect with just a remnant mental cultivation method? Is he really that awesome? The system said, the Old Man of Taishan is a legendary figure. The two mental cultivation methods he created are regarded as being above the divine grade. The Taishan Ice Heart Technique has been found. Only the Sutra of Taishan is missing. Many Wusheng and martial emperors have been searching for it their whole lives. Jun Changshao rubbed his hands and said, even I want to look for it. The system poured cold water on him. This kind of magical mental cultivation method can only be found by the protagonist of a novel. Host, don't count on it. You should just rely on the system to get rich. That's true. Jun Changshao dispelled the idea of looking for a peerless mental cultivation method and said, Yixingchen's spirit root improved. Did he cultivate a peerless divine grade mental cultivation method? Most likely. The system didn't dare to be 100% sure. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, if this guess is correct, he can obtain a peerless mental cultivation method. Doesn't that mean he has a protagonist's life? A genius turned into trash, and the other obtained a peerless mental cultivation method. My little iron bone is full of all kinds of protagonist-level bosses. Just thinking about training them makes me a little shy. The system said, host, you can trick Yixingchen. If you have a peerless divine grade mental cultivation method, you can trick him to cultivate it. Jun Changshao spread his hands and said, didn't you just say that I can just rely on the system to get rich? What's the use of learning other people's martial arts? The system was speechless. Jun Changshao didn't try to trick Yixingchen. The main reason was that even if he did have a peerless mental cultivation method, he definitely wouldn't say it. If he accidentally made him vigilant and worried that his martial arts method would be stolen, he would escape from the sect. Then the loss would outweigh the gain. Moreover, the items bought from the system were also very heaven-defying. Why would he waste time and effort to cultivate such a profound mental cultivation method? Since he didn't want to find out about the mental cultivation method, the only thing he could do was to cooperate with Yixingchen and pretend that he was a normal person. If Jun Changshao knew that this disciple not only obtained the peerless mental cultivation method that he and the system just talked about, but was also a reincarnated martial emperor, he would probably jump from his bed to the roof. The night was long, and no one was in the mood to sleep. Jun Changshao stopped cultivating and muttered, "Let's refresh the system store and see if I can find something good." Ding! Sect contribution points, 220500. After refreshing, new items appeared. Jun Changshao scanned through them one by one. His eyes fixed on a product called Dazzling Light Sunglasses. Sunglasses were also for sale. And they were dazzling. He clicked on the detailed description. Item, Dazzling Light Sunglasses. Effect, after wearing it, the user can use their mind to activate the prying function and quickly analyze the target's spirit root, cultivation, strength, weapon, protective gear, and other data. Time limit, use immediately. Price, 50 contribution points. Note, Dazzling Light Sunglasses can only be used by the host. The degree of prying depends on the host's cultivation. Powerful cultivators or those with cultivation methods and treasures will not be displayed. Jun Changshao was overjoyed. This is awesome. Although the system could roughly detect the target's cultivation and strength, it would not look at the spirit root, weapon, or protective gear's grade. Buy! He clicked on it without hesitation. Ding! The host has spent 50 contribution points and obtained Dazzling Light Sunglasses X1. It has been transferred to the spatial ring. Ding! Sect contribution points, 170500. Before Jun Changshao's mind could enter the spatial ring to take out the Dazzling Light Sunglasses he just bought, a sound rang in his ears. Ding! Side mission activated. Another mission. He pulled open the system's data panel. The content was Kill the Assassin 05, incomplete. TSK. This drizzle building really never gets tired of it. They sent another assassin. Peng! At this time, the sound of gunfire came from outside. After Xiao Ziji fired the first shot, he quickly moved the Type 88 sniper rifle. The scope of the scope locked onto the distant mountain rock. Ding! Killed the assassin 15. At the same time the notification sounded, Jun Changshao climbed up the sentry tower. He put his hand on the stone platform that was used as a cover and said, "Where are the other 4? They are all behind the rock." Xiao Ziji said. And, the 4 assassins stuck to the back of the rock and did not dare to show their heads. Especially when they saw the dead bodies of their companions, a chill ran down their spines and their scalps became numb.